to this debate. We are having a supplementary budget, Mr. Speaker, against the backdrop where the country doesn't have a medium-term plan. One wonders how we can manage our economy without a medium-term plan. We are 11 months into the year without a medium-term plan. So the numbers probably we are talking about are flying all over the air. Mr. Speaker, listen to the chairman of budget talk about other economies. It's good to compare ourselves with the other economies. But it only goes as far as to give direction on how we need to manage our economy. The fact that the Federal Reserve has increased the interest rates of the USA for a number of times is not a reason for Kenya not to manage its economy better. Thank you.
Yes.
It's no reason for Kenya not to manage its economy better. We are in a situation where the interest rates are high, and the reason why our shilling is depreciating against the international strong currencies is because our imports are falling short of, our exports are falling short of imports. In other words, we are consuming more imports than exports. Why are our exports falling short of imports? The reason is our main exports like agriculture, tea, coffee, horticulture are falling. Why are they falling? It's because the Kenyan...
Your time is up. KJ. And you are not Nairobi, you are KJ, member for Dagoretti South.
Mr. Speaker, you got that very right. And an alumni of the great Kenyatta University, where I have great company in the plenary. I'm in the company of the greats like the Honorable Chair for Finance, the Honorable Chair for Budget and Appropriation, and many other greats, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to first congratulate the Budget and Appropriations Committee for burning the midnight oil and delivering this supplementary budget on time. What needs to be spoken, Mr. Speaker, because we can't go into the details in 3 minutes, is the style and manner in which the BAC approached budgeting this year. Mr. Speaker, the involvement of members of parliament, and especially the chairs of committees, was something unprecedented. We have to commend the new style and approach that has been adopted by the Finance Committee that is very inclusive and very considerate of the issues that are coming out from the members. As a member of parliament representing a Nairobi constituency, Mr. Speaker, we do appreciate that in this budget, we have been able to put in 1 billion Kenya shillings, monies that is being transferred into the planning ministry so that it can be appropriated through the CDF so that we can expand our primary schools in this city. Mr. Speaker, the primary schools in Nairobi have come to a state where some of them have been condemned as unfit for human occupation. Some schools that last were attended to in the era of the Nairobi City Commission. Some were attended in the era of the Nairobi City Council. Some were attended in the eras of Mayor Margaret Kenyatta. This is the time, Mr. Speaker, that we get the opportunity to bring up some of these schools up to standard. Mr. Speaker, the investment in the digital space is also commendable, Mr. Speaker, that the digital economy and the ICT sector did get a small boost with an improvement of the monies that have been appropriated to this sector. So, Mr. Speaker, I do call upon members of parliament to take the opportunity and honor the pledges that they made at the Kamkunji that you convened so that we can have digital innovation hubs in each and every single ward of this country. These digital innovation hubs, Mr. Speaker, are impressive. The few that have already been put up are already converting learners into earners. Young people who are walking into our TVETs, getting the digital literacy skills, getting trained on how to be able to work on online jobs and earning in dollars. Mr. Speaker, I will want to end it here by associating myself with the words of the chair that KU does produce brilliant minds, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Masinde and the other lady who has been supporting this committee are well known to me as extremely brilliant minds. And Mr. Speaker, there is a case to be made for the generational conversation that the people who are running the economy of this country, Mr. Speaker, are of a certain average age. When you look at the chair of budget, look at the chair of finance, look at Daktari and the people who are working, this is a generation that needs to make its mark akin to the generation of the Mwai Kibakis, the Kenneth Matibas, the Martin Shikukus, who are able to bring up a Kenya that was so brilliant in the 60s and the 70s that it was recognized all over. We are seeing a situation where we are bringing up leaders of a new generation that will make this country the envy of the people around this region, in the East African region, the envy of Africa, and the envy of the world. Mr. Speaker, I do appreciate this opportunity to contribute to this motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Joseph Oyula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me opportunity to also support the supplementary budget. Mr. Speaker, I start by congratulating the chair of the Budget Committee for being very eloquent in his presentation of this supplementary budget. Mr. Speaker, as much as I support the increases and the adjustments that have been made, I would want to ask the Budget Committee to start thinking towards the reduction of there's an increase in the deficit. We should start thinking about the reduction of the deficit. Let us now start looking at a balanced budget. I know it is not something that can be done easily, but let us put our minds of bringing the budget, the deficit down, so that Kenya is also seen to be doing its operations in a more considerate manner. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to thank the budget chair and encourage him to start looking at the reduction of the deficit in the future. Thank you.
Beatrice Kamei. You're on the screen. I see you exclaiming. Are you ready for this?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to first thank the chair of this budget and appropriation and his members for the work well done, and to also appreciate the fact that he went to Kenyatta University. Those are great brains. I also went to the same university. So I'm here to appreciate this budget. Now, when it comes to the side of agriculture, I was trying to look at the tea sector, and I was wondering how much has been added to it, but I am made aware that the side of fertilizers is where the tea farmers will benefit from. For the coffee, 4 billion is good money, and the reforms will support many of our coffee farmers. Kericho, we have coffee, and the farmers had left coffee because the payment was very low. With this increase, I am sure coffee farmers will smile all the way to the bank. But I feel more money should have been allocated, Honorable Speaker, to tea farming. Milk, Honorable Speaker, the new KCC, having been added 1.5p, is very, very important. And I know many of our farmers will benefit from that, small and large-scale farmers. For the education sector to have 70 billion is a great achievement. We are investing for today and tomorrow. And I appreciate this committee for that, Honorable Speaker. Not to forget that the money allocated to affirmative action, which is more on the sanitary towels, will be a plus now that it is domiciled not in the side of Ministry of Education, but in affirmative ministry, gender ministry. I appreciate that, Honorable Speaker. So with that, I say this is good, but I believe when it comes to implementation, it will be done to the later, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kutoa sauti yangu katika makadirio ambayo yameletwa hapa bungeni ya nyongeza. Niweze kusema kuwa naunga mkono ambayo imeongezwa katika elimu, katika mambo ya usalama, mambo ya afya na mambo ya ukulima, kwa sababu huu ukulima ndio uti wa mgongo wa taifa hili Mheshimiwa Spika. Na kama ilivyo hali yetu imekuwa tata katika taifa hili, uchumi umekuwa mbaya, upande wa wakulima wakiongezewa itaongeza uzalishaji na ile economy itapanda juu, uchumi utakuja juu, na na imani baadaye rais wetu waweza kupunguza sasa zile task ambazo zimekuwa zikitujia kila wakati Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, pia lazima niangalie upande mwingine, nikiangalia ile bajeti ambayo umeongezwa katika Ikulu na ile ambayo imeongezwa katika naibu wa rais Mheshimiwa Spika. Naona hiyo kidogo ingewachwa mahali ilipo, kwa sababu mwanzo ilivyowekwa kwanza kulikuwa na utata Mheshimiwa Spika. Wakipunguza lakini pia waweze kuongezea huku kwenye afya, kwenye ukulima, kwenye usalama na kwenye elimu Mheshimiwa Spika, itagusa nyoyo za wananchi wengi na itaweza kumpa hata umaarufu zaidi katika uongozi wake, itaweza kutuliza nyoyo za Wakenya ambao wanahangaika kwa wakati huu Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo upande wa bajeti mimi naweza kusupport katika sehemu hizi 4 ambayo ni ukulima, usalama, elimu na mambo ya education. Lakini upande wa State House Mheshimiwa Spika, samahani, mimi kama mama county naona pale ibaki vile ilivyo. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you. Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a chance to add my voice on this supplementary budget. First and foremost, I want to thank the the chairman, for at least allocating resources to areas that actually are need. I particularly, Mr. Speaker, and I've asked him and he's just told me, confirmed that agriculture today is a shame that Kenya, being a country on a tropical area, is actually a net importer of food in this country. Something that we must take it very seriously. I want to find out how much money has been given to agriculture, because, Mr. Speaker, we are embarrassing ourselves. How do we import food? How do we import maize in this country? It's because I think we have not taken it very seriously, but I hope the supplementary budget, and I want to look at the figures, that we actually be able to have more money put in agriculture, get irrigation equipment in these areas that actually need irrigation. I can be able to buy some equipment so that during the dry season, we can be able to irrigate areas to be able to produce enough land, enough food for this country. I want to agree that he has put some money, but whether it's enough or not, I think is something that we want to sit, and I've just talked to my chairman here, we have to sit down and look at it and be able to see if we can get enough money to be appropriated into agricultural sector of this country. It's a shame that we import food. Now Kenya is a net importer of the food, which is not something, Mr. Speaker, that is very embarrassing. With those few remarks, I support the supplementary budget, and I hope the chairman will look at it critically to be able to look at that, can be able to see what he can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ferdinand. Bowen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the supplementary budget. And congratulate my good friend, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. He's bragging about Kenyatta University. At the time, during our time, the Kenyatta University was a school of arts and education. It was a college of education and arts. Mr. Speaker, the Jomo Kenyatta University, and we are many of us here from KWANZA. We are many. So, Honorable Speaker, let me support this appropriation bill and commend the committee of Ndindi Nyoro for the good job. Mr. Speaker, the only issue I have, especially as a chair of Blue Economy and Water, Mr. Speaker, if you check the northern Kenya and the coastal region, Honorable Speaker, which is very bad, partly affected by the floods. Mr. Speaker, those regions, as we speak, there is no even drinking water. And if you see from the budget which the Honorable Ndindi has just tabled here, there is very little allocated to those regions to address the issues of El Nino and the floods. Mr. Speaker, I appeared before the committee to present the case of these regions, and I don't know how much the Honorable Chair has given, because, Mr. Speaker, these are people currently, they are not even asking, they are not talking about coffee, they are not talking about maize, they are not talking about fertilizers, they are talking about livelihood, drinking water for them and their livestock. Mr. Speaker, many of us who are pastoralists, I'm talking on behalf of the pastoralists now, Mr. Speaker. In this budget, Mr. Speaker, we have seen there is a significant amount of money allocated for coffee, for tea, which we have not even seen. I thought initially, Mr. Speaker, tea was supposed to be like fruits because I had not seen a tea tree. So, Mr. Speaker, I want when we do a budget, we do a balanced budget for the entire country to make sure that every Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, because all of us, we are taxpayers, we make sure that there is a balanced budget which touches across the economy of this country, including us, the pastoralists. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of security, Mr. Speaker, last week, Mr. Speaker, we approved our men in uniform to go to 80. And Mr. Speaker, if you come to regions like Kerio Valley, where I come from, the northern Kenya, the Turkana, that side, there is no security. So I was seeking that in this budget, the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro's committee and also Treasury allocate enough money to address the issue of insecurity in northern part of the country and also the Rift Valley. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, from the budget I've seen from the Honorable Chair, it's generally a good budget, and I support, but I'm only telling the Chair next time when we are going to supplementary 3 or supplementary 2, they reach the parts of Kenya which he has forgotten in his budget now, he makes sure that it is addressed properly. And as we proceed, Honorable Speaker, also to approve this appropriation bill, the supplementary one which we passed in this House, we have not seen the exchequer. We have not seen. There are projects at that time when it was approved. Many government agencies went to advertise projects, and some contractors went to do some work, but that exchequer has not been released up to now, and we are talking again, passing supplementary 2. Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, go back to Treasury and speak well your economics. I had -X, -M, which you talked here. We don't want the -X, we want to see the real figures in people's, yes, the real money in Kenyan pockets.
Karole Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm actually waiting for the next order, if it could be expedited. Thank you.
Now you are falling victim of my direction. If you are not speaking to the order on the floor, try as much as you can to get yourself off the screen so that we can be able to. Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I support the motion as presented by my able chairman. Honorable Speaker, in this supplementary budget, the House has allocated sufficient resources to the security agencies, Department of Defense, NIS, and the general security of the country. Honorable Speaker, my prayer is that after this bill is passed, that the relevant agencies will do their best to address the question of insecurity in the country. Honorable Speaker, there is criminal gangs are running amok in this country. Honorable Speaker, yesterday, criminal gangs in my constituency attacked police officers who were guarding exams. And they were able to kill one police officer and injured another one. And went away with the guns. As we talk, 2 guns are in the hands of criminals in Siaya. So, Honorable Speaker, this is something which this House needs to take note of. And the security agencies have no excuse from today, after this budget is passed, not to be able to address insecurity challenges across the country. Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Maklap.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, first of all, I rise to support the Honorable Chair for budget on this S1, supplementary 1. Mr. Speaker, I have listened carefully, and I've also gone through the budget, the supplementary 1, that 1.8 or thereafter billion was allocated for compensation of farmers or payment of farmers that were not able to, the state-owned sugar factories were not able to pay them. Mr. Speaker, I support the payment of farmers because they are suffering and they supply their gain. But the problem, Mr. Speaker, is we have actually sanitized corruption. What about the people who stole that money that the government is paying now? What has happened to them so that they can be able to replenish? Because other taxpayers are now contributing to the mess of some individuals who ran down those factories and made away with that money. What action are we going to do so that as majority of us of Kenyans who are not sugarcane farmers are actually contributing to sort out a mess of individuals who are now scot-free? So, Speaker, I support the payment of the farmers. Coffee, 4 billion to support coffee farmers. I have not seen something of tea. I have not seen something to support restocking of pastoralists, because now El Nino is when pastoralists will be able to raise a number of livestock that have been lost through drought and rain. Mr. Speaker, where is something for us? Those of us who come from the pastoral economy, who want to do now restocking, because we lost the majority of our animals in drought and in banditry, Mr. Speaker. We need this country to be equal. We need fairness in Kenya. As we do coffee in those places that grow coffee, we sort out farmers in those places they grow sugar. We also need to sort out farmers who grow tea. We need to sort out farmers who actually raise livestock for survival, Mr. Speaker, in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate my chairman here for sorting out 6.3 billion for security, for modernization of security. But, Mr. Speaker, that modernization of security should not just be the police. That modernization must also go to the NBRs of Kenya, who are actually cutting community interests and their lives, Mr. Speaker. Modernization of NBR is required so that they have the right gear and the right weapons to be able to combat with crime that has already exceeded police force, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker,
your time is up.
Mr. Speaker, just one. Mr. Speaker, I agree that going forward in this country, we need a balanced budget. A balance. During Nyachai's time, I was not in Parliament. There was a time Nyachai brought in a balanced budget, revenue equal to expenditure. Mr. Speaker, during Kibaki's time, we financed our budget at a deficit of only 5%. Going forward, so that we don't sort out a problem caused by Bretton Woods institutions like World Bank and IMF, we need to move forward and swallow the bill and do a balanced budget that will be able to sort Kenya, and we don't go to the crisis of debt repayment and even increasing supplementary because of things that we don't have control as a nation. So, Speaker, I rise to support.
Mover.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I want to take very little time in replying. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank all the members who have said something about this supplementary budget, and it's important that I mention so that I also reply to their concerns. Number one, on Honorable Irene on State House. Honorable Speaker, I explained that in the second reading of the report, and the fact of the matter is that State House had not been given enough money in the main budget, and we did that consciously because there were more pressing needs. So we are just reinstating the budget that they never got in the first place in the main budget. Secondly, on diaspora, the 1 million shillings is an addition. You know, Honorable Speaker, this was a budget to cut. So they should actually be very happy that there is an addition, because most 90% of the institutions of government or MDAs actually lost money. Honorable Speaker, on the issue of education raised by Honorable Justice, we have already added more money to education. It was actually the highest gainer after the payment of interest rates. On Honorable Nchoke, I agree on the issue of interest rates and Forex, that they have a big effect on the amount of money we end up paying our interest rates. Honorable Speaker, on Nairobi schools, as was highlighted by the chair of ICT, Honorable KJ, there was a clear need, specifically because land in Nairobi is very expensive. Well, we are expending our CDF monies in the other areas. The land we may purchase to build a school is relatively cheaper when you are not in Nairobi. And that is why Nairobi was considered, so that we have a semblance of equity also in our city. Many times you see the city of Nairobi, we see good roads, but there are very many informal areas and Kenyans who need our assistance. Honorable Speaker, I want to commend also Honorable Beatrice Kemei on the issue of milk. We have actually added more money to new KCC because we need them to mop out or to mop up much more milk, and especially, as Kenyans know, when it rains, we have more production of milk. And what happens is that the prices fall. This money is to mitigate that drastic fall in milk prices, and as far as the farmers are concerned. Honorable Speaker, there is an issue that has been raised by many members on whether there is actually money for flood mitigation. Honorable Speaker, in the Department of Asals, there is around 6 billion Kenya shillings we put for emergency. In fact, this money is donor-funded money. So what we do is that the government of Kenya allocates exchequer money or domestic monies, and then every shilling we spend, we get reimbursement from World Bank. So when it comes to flood mitigation and assisting Kenyans who are victims of floods, there is sufficient money, Honorable Speaker, that we have put in this supplementary budget. Honorable Zamzam, thank you very much. The money for security is there. Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, and the chair for agriculture is here, he can confirm, Honorable Motonga, that this supplementary budget, the third gainer is actually agriculture. Agriculture in all respects. In terms of inputs, Honorable Motonga has been a very good chair of that committee.
Yes, order. What is the point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the chair for budget in order to mislead the House by telling us that money has been allocated for El Nino and other disasters, when in the book we can see only money for capital expenditure, nothing for disaster. So where is he reading from? Whatever he's saying. We know that 22 counties are affected by disasters. So he should not speak to himself. He should speak to the House on what is tabled on the floor, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Chairman, wind up.
Honorable Speaker, I want to request my brother, Honorable Sani, that with very much due respect, because he's a very, very important member of this House, I could pinpoint to him where the money is after this. There is Kenya shillings, 6 billion shillings for emergency. And you know, such a matter is not a matter to come to and talk before this House and before these honorable members on issues that are not there. It is so important a matter that no one should play politics with. So there is money that the government of Kenya has already provisioned for disaster management. And as I said before, there is monies expressly to be spent from the domestic sources, but there is also money for donor funding, Honorable Speaker, and that money is there and intact. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with Honorable Ferdinand that agriculture is very important. And Honorable Mutonga, who is a very, very good chair of that committee, can confirm that he was actually smiling all the way in our committee. When the other chairs came, wailing because of the cuts, Honorable Mutonga was one of the gainers in the Committee for Agriculture. And we have done money or allocated into inputs, into value chains, and also all the way into post-harvest management. I want to also agree with Honorable Bowen Kagongo on all respects. Equity. Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, there is money for coffee farmers. There is money for tea farmers, because agriculture money or fertilizer money also incorporates tea farmers. There is money for cashew nuts. There is money for new KCC, majorly taking care of the pastoralists and the dairy farmers. So the entire Kenyan map is actually in this supplementary budget. Honorable Speaker, also, in terms of security, we have added 6.3 billion Kenya shillings into police modernization, and that money will go a long way into assisting areas that are facing challenges. I also want to agree with my brother, Honorable Atandi, who is a very committed member of the Budget Committee, and as you saw, Honorable Speaker, also, he's doing very well in Alega Usoga, because he's among the best performing MPs also in Kenya. And all the issues he spoke about around security, we have already allocated monies so that our country can be secure. Honorable Makilap, I want to, I think I've already answered most of it in terms of emergency and restocking.
For cases, what is the problem?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. With due respect to my senior brother, Chair for Budget, he has enlisted monies meant for agriculture, enlisting critical areas, that is coffee, tea, milk. But being the House of Record, Mr. Speaker, it would be very important that the farmers who are doing maize at the moment should also get to know what is the provision for maize, because we are at the harvesting period, and being the House of Record should also be mentioned. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, I had already mentioned about maize farmers, but because the Honorable Member for Keses shares the same name with the President of Kenya, I will repeat that we have 8.25 billion Kenya shillings monies for fertilizer subsidy. Most of these monies is for maize farmers. Secondly, there is money for post-harvest management. In fact, part of the items that were already passed under Article 223 are monies that went into the purchase of dryers. Number 3, Honorable Speaker, we have put some money for arrears of farmers who never got paid by NCPB in previous years. And Honorable Speaker, and I hope now Honorable Ruto is now satisfied. We have also put money for NCPB to mop up money.
He's cheering what you are saying. He's satisfied. Wind up.
I am winding up, Honorable Chair. We have also put money into NCPB for them to buy excess maize from our farmers so that we can have a granary that is full as a nation. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I wish to reply.
Honorable members, I now propose the question, put the question rather, that the supplementary appropriation number 3 bill, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2023, be now read a second time. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of certain sums of money out of the consolidated fund and the application towards the service for the year ending on 30th June 2024, and to appropriate those sums for certain public services and purposes. Order number 11, Committee of the Whole House.
Order, honorable members, may you be upstanding?
Honorable members, you may be seated. We can begin. Honorable Kangogo, what is your point of order? Even before we begin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. While the Honorable Substantive Speaker, Honorable Chair, when the Substantive Speaker was upstanding, Honorable Chair and many members of this House were upstanding. The two honorable members, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Naisula Lesuda and the Honorable Sarah Korere. Honorable Speaker, they were just seated when the Substantive Speaker was on his feet. And Madam Speaker, I want to ask if the two honorable members are in order, that they were seated when all of us together with the Substantive Speaker were on our feet.
Honorable Naisula.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We actually stood, and I think it's about time Honorable Kangogo checked the prescription of his glasses, because maybe, honestly, we stood, Madam Chair. Yeah, he needs to go and get his glasses checked.
Honorable Kemei.
Chair, Honorable Chair, I must confess that Honorable Kangogo was just appreciating the way Honorable Member was just stood is looking very beautiful and very smart, and he just wanted to have that attention. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I see that was said in jest. Let us proceed. We are now in the Committee of the Whole House to consider the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 3, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2023. I now call the House to order.
Clause 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I now propose the question because there are no amendments. I propose the question that clause 3, 4, 5, and 6 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 3, 4, and 5, and 6 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
First schedule.
Is the paper? I propose the question that the schedule be the schedule of the bill. Mover to move the amendment? Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I wish to move that the first schedule be amended by inserting the following new votes and their corresponding details after vote R2031. I'll just read the votes, and members can interact with the content in the circulated amendment sheets. That is R2041, an additional 6 billion, R20, 6 million only, R20, sorry, Honorable Chair, let me repeat, R2041, 6 million shillings, R2042, 160 million, R2043, 60 million, and R2044, 44 million, Honorable Chair, and that the second schedule be amended in vote R2051 by deleting the expression.
Honorable Chair, just let's stick to Schedule 1 first. Let's finish with the first schedule. Have you finished the first schedule? The proposed amendments to the first schedule. Then once we've dispensed to that, then you can move to the second schedule. Have you completed the first schedule?
Not yet. There are two types. Yeah. Honorable Chair, I'm actually on it. There are two sheets of amendments for first schedule. That is the reason.
Okay.
There is one pager and there is a two pager.
Okay.
So I was reading the one pager.
Okay.
Yes,
Proceed.
then I go to the second pager.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
So in continuation, yes, first schedule, yes, I agree. Then on the same, there is another amendment on the first schedule, that the first schedule to the bill be amended, one, in vote D1017, by deleting figure Kenya shillings for 81 million in column 3, that is apply at a program 070400, State House Affairs, and substituting therefore the figure Kenya shillings 381 million. But Honorable Chair, because it's allowed in this House, I would say, as it appears in the distributed amendment sheets that members can actually interact with, Honorable Chair.
Okay, I'll let you answer, but you can move all of them. The D10, F17, D10, 24, all of them. And then, because they're all similar. Okay, let me get your point of order, Honorable Makali.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, you know, we are the chair referring to some sheets which have been circulated. We've not seen them. I don't know whether is the only one who asked them or they need to be given to the members.
Sergeant at Arms, I think I'd seen you distributing them. Could you distribute them? Yes, you can proceed. It's coming to you, Honorable Makali.
Thank you, Member. Sorry, I actually thought they are already distributed, but they'll be coming. But just to say, majority of these amendments are actually cleanups, but let me continue to read. That the first schedule to the bill be amended in vote D1017, 2 in vote D1024, 3 in vote D1026, 4 in vote D1066, 5 in vote D1072, 6 in vote D1134, and 7 by effecting the consequential amendments thereof. And just to explain to members, Honorable Chair, what we are trying to do here, there were some amendments under the security docket, which they are rearranging money within their own areas. That is the first part, that is 1, 2, and 3. On the other areas, Honorable Chair, it is the monies meant for Nairobi infrastructure, which were not well captured during the during the report time, Honorable Chair. And then what we are actually doing is clean up so that we can have this money instituted under the Department of Planning, which now holds NGCDF. On the last part, it was just pure cleanup, Honorable Chair.
I now put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion So we just put the question. Okay. Let me repeat that. I now put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that the schedule as amended be the schedule of the in respect of the votes D1017, D1024, D1026, D1056, D1066, D1072, D1134, D2041, D2042, D2043, and D2044. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Second schedule.
I now propose the question that the schedule be the schedule of the bill. Mover to move the amendment?
On the
second schedule.
Yes, on the same, Honorable Chair, it is on the two kinds of papers. So I'll start with the first one, that the second schedule be amended in vote R2051 by deleting the expression 150 million appearing in the third column at the program 0619000 General Administration, Planning and Support Services. Honorable Chair, on the other one, that the second schedule to the bill be amended, A, in vote R1032, B, in vote R1071, C, in vote R1193, D, in vote D1071, by 2, in vote D1071, there are two amendments there. E, in vote D1091, F, in vote D1135, and G, by effecting the consequential amendments thereof. Honorable Chair, if you check on the other one on Schedule 1, there is a corresponding element on this other schedule, because basically, when you see on this side, the Department for Planning, it is thus speaking to the other one for the Department of MOE, where we were getting the monies for Nairobi, and the others, Honorable Chair, are just general cleanups. And cleanup here meaning, Honorable Chair, when we do any kind of an engagement, like we had last week, because human is to, we cannot be perfect 100%, there is usually this kind of a situation where maybe a vote was placed in the wrong place, and then we clean it up at this stage, Honorable Chair.
Any member wants to? Yes? Okay, let me propose and I'll give you a chance. Yeah. I propose the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. You proceed, Honorable Makali.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I want to thank the Chair that I have now this document. And I just want to go on record that, Madam Chair, despite the fact that we are moving figures, I think some of these figures seem to be too huge to be just allowed to be amended at this level. For example, if you look at the C, Madam Chair, we are deleting a figure of 4 billion and substituting with a figure of 29 billion. Just a figure of 4 billion, and you're substituting by a figure of 29 billion. Madam Chair, I think with what happened with the control of budget, Madam Chair, and this is a matter I wanted to raise when we were debating the act, because I thought it was important. I didn't get chance. Madam Chair, you know, as a house, we have to be very careful. I'm a budget expert. And I'm telling you, Madam Chair, the reason why we are being taken for granted and being found to be not prepared for oversight is because of the thing called program budgeting. I'm sure we have doctors there, but this house is not being given the chance to go to the itemized budget because of that shift, and things are getting us not prepared. You saw the other day the control budget saying, Madam Chair, that we have budgeted our own salary 3 times, and as a house we approved. I think, Madam Chair, even though we want to support, I'm a member of the budget committee, but I think time has come when we must, some of these figures, to me, they look too huge just to be led to go at this level. Because I thought personally they should have come to the committee for debate and possibly a bit of detailed debate, Madam Chair. Otherwise, we'll still be caught again unawares as a house, where these issues will go out to the public there, and members of public will start asking us, what are we doing as a budget-making house? Because I think, for me, I have no problem, but I think this figure is too huge for that change, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Tindiret, Honorable Meli, then I'll come to you, Honorable CPA Ruto.
Chair, thank you. I want to commend the Budget and Appropriation Committee Chair for actually trying to do a proper cleanup. And I want to bring the attention of the members, and I think the members are quite keen on this particular budget-making process on the Committee of Supply, especially on the issue of taking money to the NGCDF, especially on Nairobi County, the schools, the various matching funds to schools. But I also want to urge the chair that let this money be released on time. As we proceed for recess, that the money be released on time so that members can now go to the ground and actually patronize, especially the construction of schools, so that we are ready for the new year and the students in grade 8 and so forth. But as Honorable Member has put it, the cleanup is normal. I think it is also good so that every other document that goes to the public is quite balanced and the figures are adding up. I thank you.
Hello, Member for Butere, Honorable Tindi Mwale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
If you're interested in contributing. Yes. Oh, sorry, it was Honorable, let CPA go first. Honorable Tindi, you'll come after him. I forgot that I told him he'll have an opportunity. You're after him. Okay, proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. I would also want to comment on the good work done by Chair, Budget and Appropriation, but also to note on these matters of cleanup exercise being left out after budget to be corrected. I think, Madam Chair, there is something need to be done, especially Treasury, who are the main guiders on the budget-making process. And being aware most of the systems we are using are automated, we either have ensure that we have officers who are well-trained to manage the aspect of budget. Because this cleanup, Madam Speaker, might facilitate other hidden agenda, where people end up using budget, misusing the budget, and then awaiting the moment of supplementary budget to come and do the cleanup. This one is something that we have to ensure we have proper guidance and strict measures on the officers who are doing this, because budget it's a process. It's a process from the start up to conclusion. By the time the main budget was concluded, all the programs were distinct, codes are there, they're existing, only for that to be undertaken later and cleaner process. Madam Speaker, you will believe with me, some sinister could also come with it. So I think we have to be very stern on this one. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Mwale, you may proceed.
Asante, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, pia mimi nasimama kupongeza mwenyekiti kwa kuleta hiyo marekebisho, na vile ameshaeleza na alikuwa ameeleza mara ya kwanza akianzisha hii mjadala, amesisitiza na ametueleza umuhimu wa kufanya haya marekebisho. Lakini ile nataka niunge yeye mkono na nimuulize na niunge mwenzangu wa Tinderet ni ya kwamba hakikishe hii pesa imekuja kwa haraka mno, ili wabunge na Wakenya na serikali kwa ujumla ianze kuzingatia vile Wakenya wataishi maisha mema, kwa sababu Madam Speaker, vile unajua serikali ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto iliomba kura ikiongea maneno ya mama mboga na vijana wa bodaboda. Hii bajeti mwenyekiti ambaye ni tuna jina moja na yeye Honorable Ndindi hajafafanua vizuri ni mbinu gani serikali inaenda kuimarisha maisha ya mama mboga na bodaboda. Kwa hivyo ndugu yangu mwenyekiti, bajeti ambayo itakuja huko mbele, ningeomba wewe uzingatie mama mboga na bodaboda ili serikali ifanye kazi vile ilieleza wananchi. Asanteni sana.
The Honorable Member for Nyeri County, Honorable Rehab Mukami. Please give her the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I rise to support the share budget. I'm a member of Budget Committee, and I really appreciate the good work the committee has done, my colleagues. And Honorable Chair, considering the work we had, I really feel honored that we have only a few things to do cleanup, considering the work we had. So I support the chair, and I support the cleanup which was done in Kasha and Heritage, because we really need to build our Kasha. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
The Honorable Member for Garissa Township, Honorable Deko Balo.
Madam Speaker, I was not to contribute on this particular issue. Thank you.
Yes, you had pressed the intervention button. The Honorable Member for Mombasa County, Honorable Zamzam Chimba.
Yeah, Mheshimiwa Spika, licha ya kuwa nampigia upatu katika bajeti yake kufuatana na mambo ya ukulima na mambo mengine, lakini nimeangalia nikapata katika ukanda wa Pwani mmea wetu ambao ni korosho na nazi, na kisha ile dongo kundu ambayo ilikuwa makadirio yake ilikuwa watupe 20% katika dongo kundu, haijaandikwa pale, tulipewa only 1%. Na kisha katika korosho na nazi ambao ndio mmea ambao unahitajika sehemu nyingi, na miwa, hata miwa nimeona juzi Amerika wanatamani sana kuweza kuchukua miwa kutoka Pwani na kule Western, hajaweka. Kwa hiyo namuomba chairman wa budget ambao umesoma Kenyatta University, kwa hisani yako, Pwani mlikuja mkaomba kura, tunawapenda sana, najua mtakuja tena, lakini tuwekeeni na sisi pia ukulima wetu katika bajeti yako. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Chair.
Member for Dagoretti, Honorable Beatrice Elachi. I think you're the last one.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to rise to support our chairman for the work he has done for this country, but to also just put a caution, Madam Chair, as my leader just questioned, that 4 billion to 29. I think as a House, yes, we will approve, but it is very important for us to follow up to get to know what type of oil. Are we now going to do exploration of gas again? Is that why we are giving in this money? Something just to let the House to be comfortable that indeed we moved 4 billion and we gave in 29 billion. That will be very critical, Madam Chair.
Okay, honorable members, I now put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Oh, you need to reply, yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I wish to reply to those issues because they are very important. One from Honorable Makali Mulu, and it's the same issue with Honorable Beatrice Elachi. The issue of the movement of 4 billion to 29 is in respect to monies we anticipate to have a surplus from railway development levy. These monies had been we can call it advanced from the fuel stabilization fund. So this money is going back to its rightful place, because when you fuel your vehicle, the money that goes into that kitty had been borrowed previously. And all that we are doing is to have this money go back to where it should be, and therefore it is around railway development levy and fuel levy also. Secondly, on Honorable Meli, and exactly the same issue has been raised by the Honorable T.D. Mwale, the issue of exchequer. I agree with all the members here that actually the new budgeting in Kenya is not the one we are doing today. The new budgeting is something called exchequer. Because you could come here and pass everything, but then the release of the real money is dependent on the availability of that money. So the issue of liquidity has been a huge handicap in the budget implementation process. And what we are doing is to push on KRA to have revenue-raising measures, not just punitive ones, but the ones that increases money. That is the revenue, maximizing tax rate and area. And they are already doing that. We have seen a lot of improvement in terms of the taxes for the last month, and we hope Kenya will be able to be liquid enough to implement the budget in time. So I agree on that issue. On the issue, again, on T.D. Mwale, Honorable T.D. Mwale, where is about the hustler. And I agree and commend my brother T.D. Mwale, because he is now speaking the good language of hustlers. When we talk about agriculture, this money is going to the hustlers of Butere and all the entire Kenya in terms of giving them subsidized fertilizer. When you talk about capacitating JSS, it is monies for the children of the hustlers. When you talk about monies for higher education, it is majorly going into the children of hustlers, 45,000 of whom will actually be getting full scholarship from the government of Kenya. They will not be paying any school fees. Secondly, the issue by Honorable Ruto on cleanup. Cleanup does not necessarily come from the National Treasury. Cleanup, what I'm calling cleanup, is not, it's not a mistake. Cleanup means an MDA, a ministry or a department or an agency or a saga, being given monies by the government, may realize that probably the monies for recurrent can be substituted with the money for development. So what am I trying to say? Within the same MDA, they may realize after the budget cuts or increment, they may need to rearrange the resources within their vote. So cleanup does not mean there is a mistake that has been made. There has never been a mistake made for the entire budget cycles that we have had. For example, this was a request on the MDA immigration. They are moving money within themselves. On the lastly, on Abu Zamzam, if actually you check the main budget, you realize that cost, the entire cost, all the 6 counties, they have actually been taken care of massively in the budget. However, what we read here being the supplementary are only the variations. So actually when you don't see your county here, you should celebrate, because it means monies were not deducted from the programs within your county. So this book, the reason why it is very small, it only shows variations from the main budget. However, the main budget is still in force, and this is only coming to amend a few things. So cost, when you look about infrastructure, about cashew nuts, about everything else around cost, even Coast Development Authority, Coast Water, all those agencies, Dogo Kudu, you look at Bura Irrigation Scheme, all those on Abu Zamzam, we have taken very good care of the people of Coast, because we value what they do, and also being the corridor that actually brings a lot of commodities in our country. And lastly, on Abu Elachi, I think I've answered the issue of the 4 to 29 billion it was majorly around RDL and also stabilization. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Okay, honorable members, I now put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And now, honorable members, I now put the question that the schedule as amended be the schedule of the bill in respect of the following votes. Vote R 1032, vote R 2071, vote 1193, R 1193, vote D 1071, vote D 1091, vote D 1135, and vote R 2051. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I now propose the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Mover, you can move your amendment.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And actually, this is the last amendment there is. I wish to move that the bill be amended, that is clause 2, that the bill be amended by deleting clause 2 and substituting, therefore, the following new clause 2. The Treasury may issue out of the sum of 115,874,418,343 shillings out of the consolidated fund and apply it towards the supply granted for the service of the year ending on the 30th June 2024. And therefore, Honorable Chair, this is just now consolidating all the other amendments. This is now the new figure, basically.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Honorable member, I think there is no response. So, honorable members, I now put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Okay, honorable members, I now put the question that clause 2 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
Okay. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the title be part of the bill. Okay. Honorable members, I now put the question that the title be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I now propose the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Chairperson, Budget, we can now move the report.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 3, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 3, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Honorable members, Madam Speaker.
Take your seats, honorable members. Take your seats, honorable members. Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Supplementary Appropriations Bill number 3, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2023, and approved the same with amendments.
Honorable members, I propose the question. No. Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request the Chairman for Agriculture, Honorable Dr. Mutonga Kanyuithia, to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion in view of the fact that, Honorable Speaker, we have realized finally that Kenya is moving in the right direction. We are focusing on agriculture, which is our mainstay and where the greater population is anchored. Honorable Speaker, the more we put money in agriculture, the more we support the common man and the greater percentage of Kenyans in this country. Honorable Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I therefore propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I therefore put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Mover. Mover to move third reading. Mover to move third reading.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, number 3, National Assembly Bill, number 71 of 2023, be read at that time. And before I request the seconder, Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank all members who have taken part in the debate in regards to this appropriations bill, and also again thank the Budget and Appropriations Committee and our technical team led by the Parliamentary Budget Office, Honorable Chair, most of whom are actually seated here. Thank you very much, Jury, Dr. Abel, Dan, and also Dr. Maside, and also our clerk, Mr. Joroge, and the Speaker of this National Assembly for making it sure that we have the right facilities to be able to discharge our duties. I also want to thank very much the chairs of all departmental committees. Honorable Chair, one thing we do as the Budget Committee, and the chairs can attest, whatever they discuss in the departmental committee, we actually pass it almost entirely. Because we ride on the wisdom of all the members of this House. And therefore, as Budget Committee, we cannot be the ones who know most around issues of defense, more than Honorable Major Bashir, for example. We cannot be the people who know more about agriculture than Dr. Mutonga, who is actually a professional and a PhD within that domain, and all the other members. We cannot know, Honorable Speaker, for example, issues around education, more than the committee led by the Honorable Member for Tideret, Honorable Meli. And therefore, I want to thank all the departmental chairs. You have been very, very helpful to us as the Budget Committee, and I wish to request that the same collaboration that we have, that continues, so that we can continue to discharge our roles in a manner that is collaborative. And Honorable Chair, I wish now to request the member. I also want to thank all the members of this House in entirety, because we always benefit from their wisdom, as I said before. And Honorable Chair, I now wish to request the member for Ronyejes, actually my schoolmate the same year and time in university. He was the treasurer of our student union and the current chair for Labour, one of the best youthful leaders in this country, Honorable Eric Musagi Karemba to second.
Before Honorable Eric, the chair, you must be very careful when you use the article there. You can only use that on one university. Honorable Eric.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I wish to thank and commend the work done by the committee, the Budget and Appropriations Committee, led by the chairman and the alumnus of Kenyatta University, the Honorable Dede Nyoro. And I wish to attest to the fact that, Honorable Speaker, that the committee gave us some very good time as the chairs of committees, where we went to discuss the budget. And I wish to thank them for a job well done. This supplementary appropriations bill will ensure that we get money available to execute on the various projects. And we see that they have tried and done a good job to ensure that they have covered all the interest across the country. So that was a very well done job, and I second.
Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 3, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2023, be now read a third time. We'll allow a few people. Honorable Meli.
Chair, I rise to support this report by the Budget and Appropriation Committee. More specifically, the committee has respected the decisions of the various departments. Previously, I remember, Chair, that the Budget and Appropriation Committee has actually arrogated itself the position of knowing each and every department and allocating resources in a very bad manner. And I remember in the last parliament, we did a budget, we did a supplementary budget on education and allocated resources knowing very well that as committee members, we know what the sector wanted. But when it reached the Budget and Appropriation Committee of the last parliament, it was all disregarded, and the Committee of Budget then decided to turn itself into a budget of every departmental committee in the House. And actually, it was good that this House had disbanded them. And I want to allow the chair and the current committee members that you've done a good job. And we as chairs and members of other committees, we shall support you, and we shall try to make sure that this process goes through. I thank you and I support.
Honorable members, good to note that we've exhausted the debate, so take a maximum of 2 minutes, just short comments. Honorable Junet.
Chair, this is the third reading. Chair, I want also to commend the chairman of the Budget Committee. But having said that, Chair, you know, it's good to put the record straight now that we have passed the appropriation bill. Madam Speaker, we have just appropriated 24 billion shillings in the name of stabilization of oil. Madam Speaker, stabilization fund is supposed to come from the Petroleum Development Levy. It's not supposed to come from the taxes, the consolidated fund. It's not an exchequer vote. So let's call a spade a spade. What we are doing is subsidy. We are subsidizing petroleum products with 24 billion shillings. Otherwise, we should not have appropriated it in the appropriation bill. We should have taken it from the Petroleum Development Levy. So if the levy is over, we have exhausted the levy, let us tell Kenyans that Parliament has passed a subsidy of 24 billion shillings to subsidize diesel, to subsidize petrol, to subsidize kerosene, to subsidize all manner of petroleum products. It is very good. Let us not run away. All countries in the world subsidize for their citizens. Let us not shy away. If Uhuru did it, he was doing it for the benefit of the people of Kenya. He was not doing it for his wife, for his mother, or for his children. So let us agree today as a country, and let us see that the new government has seen the light of the day. The new government has seen that subsidy is the right way.
Chair, I think it's not in order for Honorable Junet to misinform the House about a subsidy, that there is no line, and the Chair of Budget is here. Why is he insinuating that there is subsidy when it's not there? Can you read the statement where the subsidy is instead of misinforming the House?
Madam Speaker, the line reads stabilization, but I said very well, stabilization fund is supposed to come from the Petroleum Development Fund. It's not supposed to come from the money we are appropriating here. We have appropriated 24 billion shillings in the wrong line. We have stabilized, we have subsidized fuel with 24 billion shillings. It's good. Don't shy. Don't run away from it. It is going to help the people. It's going to make the cost of living come down. Just see the light, and the glory is back, and Uhuru Kenyatta is back in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Honorable Bashir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I first want to commend the Chair and the members of Budget Committee. I'm aware and fully aware that the Chair and his team really respect the views and concerns of the departmental committees. And this budget is supposed to help the Kenyans. I know this is number one. Number two is it will be coming shortly. But most importantly is that I want to ask the Chair and his team going forward to ensure that they respect the chairs and members of the other committees that bring the concerns of their departmental and MDS. And I want to commend the Chair. That is very good. On the aspect of the monies that have been appropriated, you know, and I'm sure there will be a debate on the issue of El Nino that is coming up. What is the amount? I don't see a line specific that talks about the response to El Nino. Chair, budget, the rains are causing havoc. I don't see any specific line or statement that talks about the response of the Kenya government on this matter of El Nino and the flooding. And this is a matter of life and death for most of Kenyans. So I really want you to address this matter. Thank you.
Honorable members, remember we have an adjournment motion. Also remember we have discussed these issues in second reading. This is third reading. Honorable Naisula.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to thank the Chair of Budget Committee, a very youthful, dedicated young man, Honorable Ndidi, for how he led the committee, which I also sit in when we were looking at the supplementary budget. I want to say that once we pass this supplementary budget this afternoon, it is important that Treasury then releases the funds to go and do the work that it is supposed to do, and on time. We're going on recess. We want money for NGCDF. We want money for NGAF. so that we can go and work during this holiday. Madam Speaker, that is all I wanted to say, that they release the money on time so that we can pay school fees, we can serve our constituents during the long recess, Madam Speaker. Thank you, and I support.
Other members, I have confirmed that the House is properly constituted for purposes of making this decision. I therefore put the question, which is that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 3, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2023, be now read a third time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of certain sums of money out of the consolidated fund and the application towards the service of the year ending on the 30th June 2024, and to appropriate those sums for certain public services and purposes.
Next order.
Order number 12, motion. 1970 UNESCO Convention on the Means of Prohibiting and Preventing the Illicit Import, Export, and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Property.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture. Give the mic to Honorable Wanyama.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture on its consideration of the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 12 October 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8(4) of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the 1970 UNESCO Convention in the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property. By the way of introduction, Honorable Speaker, the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property arises from the need to safeguard the state parties from the continued loss and illegal transfer of their cultural artifacts. The Convention, therefore, emphasizes the prevention and international cooperation in cultural property ownership, promoting awareness, and protecting cross-border traffic. Honorable Speaker, the Convention establishes a framework of international cooperation and mutual assistance and obligates state parties to identify, protect, and restitute cultural property stolen or exported illegally. This convention further creates awareness on the need to protect cultural objects against cross-border trafficking. Indeed, the repatriation of illegally acquired cultural property will address historical injustices and restore the dignity of the country after having suffered under colonial rule. At present, 144 states have acceded to and are a party to the convention. Therefore, Kenya would be 145th state. Honorable Speaker, the connection recommends the enforcement of the protection of cultural property in three main pillars, namely preventive measures by providing that states signatory to the convention shall enforce the security and safety of cultural property, such as taking inventory, exportation, certifications, monitoring of trade, and the imposition of penal sanctions. 2, restitution provisions
whereby the state parties are obligated to assist each other in the retrieval of stolen cultural property, and lastly, international cooperation, by which the convention seeks to strengthen international ties between signatories and provide assistance and cooperation with one another. Honorable Speaker, the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture facilitated the considerations of ratification of the convention by Parliament. In its consideration, the committee conducted public participation, where it received submissions from various stakeholders, all of who were in support of Kenya's accessions to the convention. Honorable Speaker, the committee extensively engaged various key stakeholders in the considerations of the convention. The committee received submissions from the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Interior and National Administration. The committee also received submissions from the Registrar of Treaties as well as Council of Governors. The committee also held public hearings in the considerations of the convention and received submissions from the Law Society of Kenya and the Creative Economy Working Group. Honorable Speaker, in its memorandum to the convention, the then Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage noted that although the objectives of the conventions are aligned with the Constitution, there is need to domesticate the convention by amending the National Museum and Heritage Act, the Environmental Management and the Coordination Act, as well as the Copyright Act, so as to give effect to the provisions of the convention. Honorable Speaker, the clarion call by the stakeholders was that the accession to the convention was paramount, as it will lead to the protection of Kenya's natural and cultural heritage, including archaeological sites, wildlife, landscapes, and folklore, which are currently facing vulnerability due to anti-global market openings. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting that Article 11 of our Constitution recognizes culture as the foundation of the nation and obligates the state to promote all forms of cultural expressions through our cultural heritage. The accession to the convention will therefore promote the safeguard of our cultural heritage. Honorable Speaker, there is no immediate direct financial implications imposed by the convention on the government of Kenya. This is because the financial obligations will only arise on a need basis, and in the event that a state party requests for the repatriation of a cultural object from another state party. Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that some of our current legislations already gives effect to the provisions of the convention. An example of this is the obligation under convention that each state party undertakes to develop an export certificate which shall authorize and accompany the export of any cultural property. The committee notes that Section 52 of the National Museum and Heritage Act, number 6 of 2006, provides that no monument shall be removed from Kenya unless such a removal is authorized by an export permit issued by the Cabinet Secretary. Honorable Speaker, the committee notes that there is an urgent need to review the laws relating to the protection of our cultural heritage to align the laws to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, as well as to domesticate the provisions of convention. To this end, the committee is alive to the fact that the Cabinet recently considered and approved the Culture Bill 2023, which seeks to advance our unique culture as a spur for our well-being and development. The committee, therefore, looks forward to facilitating the consideration and subsequent passing of the law by National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, permit me to conclude by saying that, indeed, the time is ripe for Kenya's accession to the convention. This will lead to the advancement of international cooperation and collaboration between the member states, as well as information sharing and technical support from UNESCO in regards to cultural preservation. Further, the accession to the convention will lead to the promotion of the respect for cultural heritage within our territories. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to request the Honorable Member of Nambale to second. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Nambale.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second this motion. And Honorable Speaker, we are aware that culture helps us connect with the past, learn from the history, while also creating a sense of place and community. And perhaps this is the reason why in Article 11, the drafters found it necessary to refer to it as the foundation of a nation. And Madam Speaker, we have had complaints all over about our cultural artifacts being taken away from our country. We have had complaints about the Kiondo, we have had complaints about the Kikoi being registered in other countries, yet those particular arts were developed in our country. But we have no arena through which on international forum we can go and claim this particular artifact. And Madam Speaker, this particular UNESCO convention is clearly in tandem with Article 2, Sub-Article 6 of our Constitution, which provides that any treaty or convention ratified by Kenya shall form part of our laws. And Madam Speaker, the 1970 UNESCO Convention urges state nations to come up with measures to prohibit and prevent the illicit trafficking of cultural properties. Unless we ratify this convention, there's no way we'll move on to claim our lost cultural artifacts. So I'm very happy that the committee, under the leadership of the Honorable Dan Wanyama, found it necessary to come up with a very good report which I've gone through that is going to help safeguard our cultural artifacts in this country. So I therefore move to second this particular report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I therefore propose that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture on its consideration of the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 12th October 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property. Honorable Member for Samburu East, Honorable Jackson Lekumontare.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. That is a very easy name, Lekumontare. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this idea. It is a very important idea, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when things from Kenya are being taken away, the ideas of Kenyans will be taken away, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, if this one will be adopted, it will help the country so that there is no those cultural artifacts which will be taken away without even awareness of the the owner or the country. So this is a very important idea, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, there are so many things which has been taken away. If you look at the history of Kenya, so many things have been taken away. And this treaty and agreement, Madam Speaker, will help to cure that problem, so that the things which has been even taken away, even if it is so many years ago, Madam Speaker, the country should have a right to claim back some of those things. And Madam Speaker, there are so many which we really need, because that is our heritage, Madam Speaker. So it is a very good idea, Madam Speaker, that I support. We have to work hard and prevent this illicit transport, taking things away from the country, and that is very important, Madam Speaker. I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Kilgoris, Honorable Julius Olesunkuli.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to speak after my friend from Samburu. Actually, his name means he has a lot of goats. So that's why he says it's a very easy name. Madam Speaker, I wish to support the motion, which is the ratification of the UNESCO 1970 convention. Madam Speaker, the subject matter of this are the artifacts belonging to each country in the world, and in our context belonging to Kenya. After the British Empire collapsed, or should I say, during the days of the British Empire, a lot of things that are valuable to countries were taken to Britain and to other capitals of the world that were colonizing Africa. And I think the country that suffered most was Egypt, because there was some Egyptomania where everybody was taking something from Egypt and putting them in their museums, so that that gave them some bragging spaces. Then they went and they were sold to wealthy collectors from those countries, and they kept them in their museums, and they made money from them because they held very valuable items. Madam Speaker, this has continued. Whether you are talking about the kingdoms of Benin and their bronze, or you are talking about the things from Eswatini, or you are talking about the archaeological artifacts of Kenya. And therefore, the UNESCO decided that it is better to have a convention which will protect these artifacts from being stolen. You know, Madam Speaker, that a lot of artifacts have actually even been returned to Kenya by mutual negotiation. But now the UNESCO Convention requires each country to participate in the protection of these artifacts. And Madam Speaker, some of the measures that are required by this UNESCO Convention, first of all, is that each country should have an inventory of its artifacts. And this inventory should therefore form an international inventory, so that people do not claim that what was stolen from them, what was not stolen from them was actually stolen. But once we have each country having an inventory, it is going to be very, very protected. In our country, we have a number of museums, not as many as we would have wished to have. But you have the Morumbi Heritage, which is right here in Nyayo House. You have the museum, the National Museum in Nairobi and in Kisumu. And of course, you have Fort Jesus. But, Madam Speaker, we need to have an inventory of the country to know what we actually own, so that we can be able to protect those artifacts. We must also be able to establish export certificates. That is what this convention requires, that we should have, each country should have a way of controlling the exports of its artifacts from this country. And Madam Speaker, we must also be able to establish border controls, so that people do not go out of the country with what is valuable to us. Once we sign this treaty, once we ratify the UNESCO Convention, we are committing ourselves that we are going to do those things, and that we are also going to put in our penal code, or at least in our criminal system, offenses for punishing people who will be guilty of taking away our artifacts. We're also going to do one thing which is more difficult, I think, for us. That is public education, to tell people what is actually valuable and what is not. Kenyans are not very good at going to museums. I think the only people who go to the Kenya National Museum are the children from school who come to see two museums. One, the National Museum, and another one is Parliament, which should not be actually a museum. But they consider that to be something that should be kept. Madam Speaker, the last thing that I want to say is, apart from what UNESCO is saying, our universities should be on the forefront in protecting our artifacts. We, as the Maasai community, for instance, should have in the name, the university that is in our name, Masai Mara University, should actually be in the forefront of protecting our culture. Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Member for Marakwet West, Honorable Timothy Toroitich.
I can't. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute on this very important motion. Honorable Speaker, at the onset, I wish to thank the Member of Parliament from Webuye West, Honorable Dan Wanyama, for this very substantive subject that he has brought before this House for debate. Honorable Speaker, this is a very, very important convention that we have no choice as a House and as a country to ratify. Honorable Speaker, under Article 11 of the Constitution, culture has been given a constitutional anchorage. Culture has been anchored in the Constitution. And Madam Speaker, it provides in very clear terms that culture is the foundation of our nation and is the cumulative civilization of our country. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we have no choice because it is already provided for by the Constitution, and we must be able to protect the same. Honorable Speaker, in Kenya, we are losing our culture at a very alarming rate. You find, Honorable Speaker, that even we have lost our indigenous languages. Our children today cannot be able to speak the indigenous languages of most members here because of where they come from. Honorable Speaker, it is something that we must work on as a country. Honorable Speaker, I have read this convention. And basically, it talks about repatriation of artifacts that were stolen, that were illegally taken away from this country. Honorable Speaker, during colonization, after the Berlin Conference, and there was colonization in this country, our culture was desecrated. Some of our artifacts from various communities in this country were taken to Europe and other countries in this world. And it is time that, as a House, we accede to this convention. We ratify the same. Honorable Speaker, as we speak, 144 countries have already ratified and acceded to this particular convention. As a country, as a Commonwealth country, as a country that believes in international law, it is our time that we ratify and give effect to Article 2.6 of the Constitution of this country, which provides very clearly that any treaty that has been ratified or any international law that is ratified becomes part of the law of Kenya, so that artifacts that were taken away during the colonial regime is returned back to this country, and we have our sanctity as a country and our integrity as a country returned back to where it was before colonialism. Honorable Speaker, we must also be aware that even as we ratify this, we still have our indigenous laws. We have the National Museums and Culture Act, which is provided for. Then it means that once we pass this convention, we must again align our laws in this country. We must align our law in this country to align with the international law that we are going to adopt. So, Honorable Speaker, we have no choice as a House. We have to ratify this convention. we accede to it so that we become part of a community of nations, the 144 countries that have ratified, so that we can be able to restore back our culture to its default settings. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Githunguri, Honourable Gathoni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, I'm excited to contribute to this motion that touches on the ratification and empowering our people in making sure that we prohibit and prevent the illicit import and export of and transfer of ownership of cultural property. Madam Speaker, you know, I'm so excited to hear that this kind of a debate can get room in this parliament, noting that there are so many people in this country who have worked so hard to create what we define as artifacts and fossils in this country. But they lose out on the revenues therein in terms of ownership, usage, and exploitation therein because of issues of who owns what and who copyrighted what. Madam Speaker, I was just trying to read around as I listened to my other members contribute to this motion, and I was just trying to get the clear definition of what an artifact is so that we can be able to limit ourselves into what we are debating with, but unfortunately my eyesight is failing me. With your permission, Madam Speaker, you allow me to quote a definition that a cultural artifact are tangible objects, tools, or items that hold significance with a particular culture or society, representing its values, beliefs, and historical experiences. They range from ancient relics, artworks, manuscripts of modern day items such as photographs, clothing, technological devices, and others. Madam Speaker, allow me to concentrate myself to what I have read on photographs. You know, whenever we talk about artifacts, most of the time we think about those very traditional signs and symbols and items that depict certain imagery. For example, Madam Speaker, if you look at the walls of this parliament, including where you are seated, Madam Speaker, there are images that are engraved on the wall of where you are seated. If you look around even on the exit of this parliament chamber, you will see some image. According to the definition that I have read, all these images that we have here and many others that are within our backgrounds are part of what we are supposed to be debating. But unfortunately, if you go to a shop in London and you want to procure an image photo like what is depicting of a traditional house just across the wall there, you will not be allowed to buy that because of certain rights that people hold because the photo rests in their country. But the photo and the image is actually a definition of a certain community somewhere in Kenya or somewhere in Ethiopia. Madam Speaker, if only we could be able to concentrate on what we are debating today and make it a law or make it a policy. We are struggling right now with so many young people in this country who are super talented, who can be able to revive the spirit of artifacts and the spirit of culture and even earn a lot of revenue out of what our young people can do. Madam Speaker, every time I am in the village, I get young boys telling me I am an artist. I can draw this. I can craft this. The other day, a small boy presented to me an image of an elephant. I mean, he's made an image of an elephant that is talking, you know, that is animated to talk and talk like Wamushomba, the MP. How I wish that we can be able to, you know, empower ourselves using such opportunities like what we are debating today, so that we can be able to allow our young people to invest in what they have, preserve what we have, socialize them into what we have believed in socialization in our culture, so that we can create a lot of opportunities for them. So I rise to support this motion. This is the right time for us to start thinking of what is ours and what we should harvest as ours and exploit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Tigania West.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to also contribute to the adoption of the report by the committee. Honourable Speaker, it has taken us more than 50 years to consider adopting this report and to consider adopting the United Nations Convention report on culture. Culture, Honourable Speaker, cuts across every community. In other words, every community has got its own culture. And culture used to communicate in a variety of ways. And through that communication, people grew, people were more nurtured than they are today, people were more organized than they are today, and people were more obedient to the norms than they are today. Having been introduced to a mixture of what we call the global world, which has a multiplicity of issues that you have to deal with, that you have to interact with, and you have to sort out in order to find your space, what we call a global world is total confusion. Honourable Speaker, adoption of this report is important so that Kenya can join the global world in stamping our authority and taking our place in the adoption of culture and heritage as a country. Honourable Speaker, today, if you travel anywhere in the world and you say you are from Kenya, they ask you whether you are a Maasai. And the reason is the Maasai culture, in terms of dressing and in terms of their way of life, has been expounded and it has been known across the globe. As I said at the beginning, every community has got its own culture. The question we should be posing today is, what are we doing as a people? What are we doing as a development agency within our own means to promote and revive the culture? Honourable Speaker, when we lost the culture, we lost everything. Today, the world is confused. Young people have indulged in almost anything. In the cultural setup, there were duties, there were stages, there were formations that defined. The mode of dressing defined occasions. We do not need to communicate a lot. What was necessary is to know what is happening today because of the mode of dressing, because of the way people will appear in public. We have lost all that. What we have today as a global world, a multicultural or intercultural community, is a community that has lost most of what human being probably was supposed to gain. It's a community of young people who are indulging in issues that they could wait and still do at the right time, and therefore losing out their lives. It's a community where we have even lost the basic meaning of life. Honourable Speaker, today we talk of LGBTQ, and I pause to wonder, where did it come from? Which culture is that? There is no culture like that. It is lack of adherence to cultural norms and heritage issues that has led us to such confusion. So it is important for us to enjoy the global world in order to protect our culture, in order to protect the development of what we used to be. I wonder what we do as a people. Honestly, I want to give an example of my own constituency. In our strategic plan, we have a strategic aim which basically does on culture and heritage. And we have set aside a day for each ward to have cultural and heritage competition, where people bring the artifacts, they also bring all what they used to use to utilize in the past, the traditional regalia. They wear different, they present songs and dances, and they do competition. That competition finally ends up at the constituency level, where we have the best performing in terms of the cultural presentations that they do. The artifacts are also defined. What we intend to do, Honourable Speaker, is to set up a museum that will have our cultural heritage and that people will be coming to see the kind of things that used to happen based on the definitions and the descriptions that have been made. In other words, we are saying that it can also help us create employment for a country that needs so much of jobs as Kenya. It can help us open the horizons of job creation. It can also help us in many other ways. So as we talk about this issue today, let us think about documentation. How much of documentation do we have? The old generation is dying with the knowledge and with the institutional memory. We do not have documentation. Let us think about it before everyone goes away. We document, then we try to practice it as we interpret in our own way. Honorable Speaker, I support the adoption of the report.
Thank you. Dr. Christine Ombaka, member for Siaya.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to say that culture is a powerful identity that each person has. We have to protect our culture. And since we lost our culture during colonial time and during slave trade, we lost so much. We not only lost the human beings, the people of Africa and Kenya, but we also lost the artifacts that we are talking about here. That is our identity. We need to bring them back, and we must be proud of them. We do not need to think about them as old-fashioned, and that these are things of traditional life, and that they are, past our history. But I think we need to remember that a people must survive by knowing what their past is. So our artifacts that were there in times memorial were taken away, and that's how things fell apart in Africa. We have lost so much in terms of our culture and identity. So if we import back our artifacts, our clothes, the photographs, even music, we will be back again to being Africans. Our young people today don't even know their homes. They don't know their culture. They don't know their language. They don't speak it because they're not even proud of it. It is time that we are proud of our past, that we are proud of our culture, because that is what makes us Africans. That's what makes us human beings. Other African cultures, in South Africa, if you go, they have tried their best to maintain their culture. You see a lot of artifacts. We admire their photographs. We see their past and the sufferings that they went through during apartheid. We don't have anything to call ourselves. We have nothing to show. And so I want to support this by saying that it is a very good convention. It's a good bill in the sense that it is helping us restore what we lost in the past. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Member for Tharaka.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the proposed ratification and begin by pointing out that, in fact, this is a 1970 convention. And what makes us go back to the year 1970 is the fact that our Constitution demands that unless we ratify these conventions, they do not become part and parcel of our laws. So it is vitally important that we look at all what we ratified since independence up to today, and all of them are brought to this House so that they are ratified and given the status of law. It's only Parliament that can make laws, and therefore we have to be alive to the fact that some of these conventions also have to be domesticated so that they can apply as laws. Vitally important that we are trying to protect cultural property, artifacts, as they are well known. We do not know what has happened since 1970, but as soon as we ratify this particular convention, it becomes a criminal offense if you try to transfer in a manner that is illicit or import or export what belongs to a cultural group as cultural property. Questions abound as to what cultural property is, and we know that as Africans we may not have kept our artifacts so well, and most of those artifacts have been stolen and are now in museums in Europe, in Asia, and in the Americas. I think we need to go further than this and get a law that is going to allow us to claim back part of the stolen property. Nobody has a right to keep property that you stole, because no rights are conferred by stealing. And I say stealing because the whites who came over took away our artifacts and other cultural valuables because they were so good and took them to their museums. what they are holding is stolen property, and we need to claim back that property. Other issues arise as regards injustices done to us. The colonialists would actually kill an African king or chief, cut off the head, ship it to some European country, and put it in a museum. It became an artifact. What happens to such actions and to such property? Isn't that cultural property? Because even to date, we do not know where the bodies of our late chiefs, like Koitalel Arap Samoei, like Waiyaki Wahinga, Chief Lenana, we do not know. Maybe their heads are lying somewhere in certain museums in England. Whose property is that? Maybe we go by the case of the South African government through the late Nelson Mandela. If this House would recall what happened quite early during the colonization of South Africa, the British found the San and the Khoikhoi, the Bushmen and the Hottentots, as they used to call them, derogatory. These were the San and the Khoikhoi, and they used to have a lady by the name Sarah Batman. She was adored in various aspects. So they took her away as a human animation out in Europe. Eventually, she died, and they preserved her body or parts of her body to be exhibited in certain museums. Nelson Mandela was able to persuade the British to return those parts and the body of that lady to South Africa, and she was given a decent burial. Was that an artifact? Was that property? What was it? To me, in fact, these are the claims we should be making, and especially for the Republic of Kenya, on the government of the Great Britain, the UK, so that whatever they stole from this country should be returned to us with appropriate compensation. I propose the ratification of this particular convention. Thank you.
Member for Tetu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to also lend my voice in support of the ratification of the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer and ownership of cultural property. Madam Speaker, like my colleague has said, we are actually about 13 years late, because after passing our constitution in 2010, this is something that we should have done, almost immediately. But it is never too late to do the right thing. Madam Speaker, from the onset, let me just say that, just like my colleagues have said, Africa, and indeed Kenya, we are coming obviously from a history of exploitation, not only of our natural resources, of our people, but also of our culture, and indeed of what we possessed as artifact. If you read the history of the missionaries or even the explorers who came to Africa, they were always interested in picking bits and pieces of our artifacts and cultures from all over the world. And indeed, a few of my colleagues here have alluded to that fact. But however, Madam Speaker, it's also important to note that this is a trade that continues up to today. And indeed, in this country, we still find ourselves losing items that are of interest, going to foreign museums, and especially this happened after we gained our independence. Madam Speaker, we have, for example, the example of Koitalel. It is well documented that his head is held somewhere in a foreign museum. And it is important, Madam Speaker, for me to say that this convention, under Article number 7 of this convention, it provides for what we call restitution, where it says, and I quote with your permission, Madam Speaker, for objects inventoried and stolen from a museum public or a religious a monument or a similar institution, Article 7 provides the state parties should undertake appropriate measures to seize and return any cultural property stolen or imported. So, Madam Speaker, as a government, it is very important that the government of the Republic of Kenya, through the national museums and the relevant ministries, start appropriate action to get our known artifacts back. The head of Koitarel, we are also told that Turkana boy is no longer in our museum. What we have here in our museum is a replica. So how do we get some of those things back? But going forward, Madam Speaker, we also have a lot of things that were associated with our liberation movement that future generations, 50 years, 100 years from today, will need to know about and will need to be able to see. And so I propose that the National Museums of Kenya, which I believe should be at the forefront of the enforcement, after we ratify this treaty, they should be at the forefront of enforcement, should consider especially the artifacts that are associated with the Mau Mau movement. And Madam Speaker, the Mau Mau movement is very, very close to my heart, because Teto, my constituency, was really the epicenter. And this is the home of Dedan Kimathi. And we have the guns, we have the knives, we have the skins, we have the things that they used in the liberation struggle. And a lot of these things, indeed even the letters that they used to exchange, there was something called that there was a post office that they had in the forest, which had something that needs to be preserved. So, Madam Speaker, how do we as a country now move to put together all our artifacts? And I am requesting that the National Museums of Kenya, after this, considers putting together the Dedan Kimathi Museum, which we have been asking for at a place called Karonaine in Teto, which can become the collection of all the Mau Mau artifacts and items so that we can preserve them for future generations. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support this ratification. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, we are 3 minutes from the appointed time by the Speaker for the adjournment motion by Honorable Abdul Haro. And for the convenience of the House, you'll be guided by Standing Order number 33. The mover will have 10 minutes, and every other member shall have a maximum of 5 minutes. So we will begin, and this debate will continue in the next sitting. Honorable Member for Mandera South, you can move your motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Pursuant to Order 33.1, I seek.
Continue, Honorable Member. Don't listen to Honorable Haji until I tell you out of track. Continue.
I seek leave for the adjournment of the House for purposes of discussing a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the current severe El Nino crisis and its devastating effects, particularly in Mandera County. Honorable Speaker, the adverse effects of the El Nino crisis are significantly impacting a lot of critical facets of our country. The rains are disrupting the ongoing national exams for students, with potential long-term consequences on the education and future prospects of students. In Mandera County, numerous schools are also being utilized as refugee shelters, posing challenges to both the displaced individuals and educational institutions involved. Some vital healthcare facilities, including hospitals, are submerged, rendering them inaccessible. This has unfortunately left the affected population without access to medical assistance in the wake of dangerous outbreak of diseases. Honorable Speaker, it is disheartening to note that private individuals have had to step in actively to engage in rescue and relief efforts, underlying the urgency and the gravity of the situation. The current death toll stands at 46, with over 14 reported injuries, and the potential for further casualties is imminent if immediate action is not taken. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek leave for adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of great national concern with a view to exploring possible and lasting solutions. Honorable Speaker, we've received heavy El Nino rains from the end of October. And this has come just when the country had just come out of one of the worst droughts in the history of the country, a drought that had been predicted to have been the worst in 40 years. And when just the country was recovering from these drought effects, and when pastoralists particularly and other Kenyans were rejoicing that the rains have finally come, these rains have now come in El Nino, which has been predicted now to be the super El Nino, not the normal El Nino. It is predicted by the weathermen as one of the worst, as worse than the El Nino of the 1997-1998. Already, over 15,000 families have been uprooted from their families. Hundreds of acres of farmlands have been decimated, and over 1,000 livestock have been swept away. Whole counties have been cut off from the rest of the country. For example, Mandera County, where I come from, is completely cut off from all routes that lead to that county from within the country and also from the neighboring countries, which means in the next few weeks, if the rains continue pounding, and we have been told the rains will continue until March next year, then we are facing serious starvation, lack of food. Already there is scarcity of fuel in that county and many other counties. Mandera Referral Hospital, for example, was reported that as per yesterday, the critical hospital facilities like oxygen and other facilities that require electricity is not accessible. Honorable Speaker, food is running out in many parts of the country. Fuel has run out, and there is serious danger of waterborne diseases, for example, like cholera outbreak. And there is also very serious danger of malaria outbreak. In some parts of the country, especially in central parts and Rift Valley, there is danger of mudslides, which could be a danger to the lives of many of our people. Madam Speaker, as we speak, the rains are continuing pounding most parts of the country. Already, as I had indicated, the 46 deaths which have been reported, but the number is rising. As late as yesterday, we lost a Form 2 boy who is a student of Takaba Secondary School from Mandera West. He was swept away by a river called Lagsure, which has its sources in Ethiopian highlands, and the boy was swept away and has not been retrieved from the river. My heart goes to all those Kenyans who have lost their lives, and my heart goes to all those Kenyans who are still missing, and I pass my condolences to the families. My point is, we should urge as a nation to declare this flood, which is now turning to be a super El Nino, as a national disaster. It is only by declaring it as a national disaster and by making sure that we mobilize all the resources that we have as a country and all the resources that we can garner from our friends and well-wishers is when we can concentrate our efforts on this disaster which is threatening to wreak havoc. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to move the motion.
Thank you, Member for Mandera South. I'll ask the members whose intent is not to speak on this, you can withdraw your cards. Otherwise, I'll consider all the ones logged in to be intending to speak to this. Member for Mandera North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank the Honorable Kore for this adjournment motion. It's timely. Honorable Speaker, what we know now is not a normal El Nino. It is actually a super El Nino. Remember, we're just back from severe drought that has been so severe. Actually, it has not been witnessed for the last 40 years. Now, after this severe drought, then here we are with super El Nino. And so the communities are at pains. It's actually so critical that the population is gasping for life and things that mitigate their life. Food is one of them. The road infrastructure has been cut off to the extent that no vehicle can pass through. Now, we are looking at a situation whereby vehicles leaving Nairobi, to supply parts of Wajir, parts of Mandera, parts of Isiolo, and many others. They can't reach their destinations. Now what happens? There's extreme food insecurity in those places. And then there's what you call now the hiking of these prices, of the little commodities that are now in the shops. In places like Mandera County, we are bordering both Ethiopia and Somalia. Remember, the borders are closed. The food from Nairobi cannot reach them. Those commodities that can be bought from across cannot reach because we have a situation whereby the borders are officially closed. Now, what are we supposed to do? We watch in the eyes of these communities just starve like that? It's very critical. What we're asking now is for the government actually to declare this as a national disaster, whereby, I mean, donor countries or donor agencies can come in. And this will be a whole government approach. We have a situation whereby power stations have been submerged and some of the towns now don't have power. Those that do have will go off very soon because there's no fuel. Now, if you don't have a whole government approach to attend to this matter, then we as leaders, we as government, will be looking like we are looking at the eye, watching them from Nairobi. They are helpless and we can't support. Ministry of Energy, Kenya Power, what plans do they have to ensure that there's power in those stations? Ministry of Health, what plans do they have to ensure that essential drugs reach those populations? It's very critical. Now, what we are looking at now is that relief food or food of whatever kind is the most essential commodity that we need now. We can't even know who is more deserving or not deserving. Every person in those areas is deserving now because there's nowhere to buy. So I'm asking the government to move with speed. I'm asking the donors to move with speed to save this population from this super El Nino. Remember some of the infrastructure that have been swept away by the floods. Look at the road from Garissa to Madagascar. It was constructed in 2019 at whopping several billions of shillings. Part of it was swept away. Why? Because it was not done properly. And I think it's high time people are supposed to pay for this kind of crimes. The engineers who are supposed to monitor these things, the contractor was doing it. The Director General of Kenya at that particular time, they need to answer some of these things. The poor infrastructure in parts of Northeastern, for example, have contributed to the situation now we're in. If we had roads, and I'm sure we could mitigate some of these effects of El Nino. But now we don't have roads, no infrastructure. The population is dying. So what we want is an entire world government approach to salvage the situation in northern part of Kenya, and especially northeastern. The population is actually breathing in pain. We are looking from Nairobi and asking, what can we do? So as I conclude, I want to ask the Kenya government, and especially the President of the Republic of Kenya, to declare the El Nino situation as a national disaster so that help can reach every part and every corner of this country. It's so dire, people are going to starve. And I'm telling you, El Nino will continue until March. What are we going to do? We sympathize with those who have been submerged, those who lost their lives, but most of
Your time is up. Member for Ganze, Honorable Charo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity, for me also to contribute towards this motion. First of all, I want to thank the Member of Parliament for Mandera for bringing this motion to this House. And again, I want to pass my condolences to the people of Ganze because I understand we did lost 2 people due to the El Nino floods. as a government or as a country, I think we have failed once again, because we have been caught flat-footed by this El Nino. The fact that warnings were given in time, but I think the respective government departments did not take the necessary precaution to make sure that such kind of calamities are averted. As we speak right now, there are so many people in KWANZA who have been surrounded by water. Those who live near riverbanks, those who live in swampy areas. As we speak right now, they cannot get out of their places because of the water surrounding them. As we speak right now, we have not had any help from any government institution, be it the national government, be it the county government. Over 1,000 people right now in KWANZA are living in dire conditions. They need to be evacuated from where they live, and there has been no support forthcoming so far. We have also had a lot of problems with those who are administering exams right now. A case in point yesterday, there's a school in Mitangani location in KWANZA that started the exam, an exam that was supposed to start at 8 a.m. in the morning. It started at 8 p.m. at night because they could not be able, the roads are impassable, the bridges have been swept away, so there was no way that the exam could get there on time. And again, help did not come in time because we had been told that there will be contingency plans to make sure that if the roads are cut, then we'll have helicopters hired by NEC to take exams to these schools. But that did not happen. So imagine a student waiting for exam that was supposed to start at 8. In the morning, it starts at 8. The teachers were telling me that they were returning these exams to the containers at 1 a.m. At night. So this is very sad. And as a country, I think we never learned from past experiences. Because I remember the last El Nino, I think, in 1997, when I was a student myself, I was doing my Form 4 exams at Godoma Secondary School. It was during El Nino. That time, we used to start our exams at 4 p.m. And you see, almost 27 years later, still as a country, we are still facing the same problem. I think we need to wake up as a country. We need to take disaster preparedness seriously. Because I can imagine right now, we have been suffering like for the last 3 weeks because of the heavy rains. There has been no help forthcoming whatsoever. I support this statement by the MPs here that this government should now declare El Nino a disaster. It is a natural disaster. And the outlook for this week, the forecast for this week, it still says that there's still much more rain coming. So if right now people are suffering like this, what will happen if these rains continue for the next 2, 3, 4 days? I think I want to urge all the concerned government departments, please wake up from your slumber, kindly get to the ground and help the people. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity.
Thank you. Member for Lamu East, Honorable Rueda.
Asante Bispika kunipatia na nafasi nami nichangie. Bispika, hakika mafuriko yametuathiri sana, na Bispika, inasikitisha kila wakati tunapatikana ghafla. Kuna umuhimu sasa wa kujitayarisha ili mafuriko haya yakija yasitupate vile yanatupata. Imekuwa nenda rudi, mambo ni hayo hayo. Pia ningeomba Bispika, kwa ruhusa yako, chochote kinachotukuliwa hapa isiwe ni kungojea kila memba aende akaulize swali kibinafsi. Lamu, sijui Tana River, sijui Garissa. Naomba iwe ni hapa moja Kenya nzima. Manake maswali yatakuja mengi. Kwa hivyo tupate msaada kwa pamoja wote walioathirika na mafuriko. Bispika, kwetu Lamu Mashariki kunasikitisha sana. Lamu Mashariki eneo lililoathirika ni Basuba Ward. Basuba Ward ninavyokuambia, Mangai shule iko upande wa pili wa mto. Sahihi wanafunzi hawawezi kwenda Mangai Primary. Mto umefurika. Watu wa Mararani wamefungika kabisa. Hawawezi kwenda Kiunga kwa mambo ya usalama, na huku wanapokuja karibu Mangai pia nao hawawezi, barabara yao ni hiyo. Wamefungika kabisa, hawana pa kwenda. Bispika, Basuba tu Milimani njia haipitiki. Hata pikipiki hazipitiki. Ndio usafiri peke yake ni pikipiki huko. Kwa sababu ya mambo ya zile IDs kwa barabara. Sahihi alhamdulillah tunashukuru hakuna hiyo mambo ya kwa hizo vilepuzi kwa barabara. Tunashukuru kwa sababu ya mvua hazifanyiki. Lakini sasa hakuna njia ya kupita. Usafiri wa kule ilikuwa ni pikipiki. Sahihi hakuna usafiri wa aina yoyote kutoka Basuba na Milimani. Upande wa Kiangwi kwenda Basuba pia barabara imekatika. Njia ni bahari peke yake kupitia hiyo Basuba ward yote wafike Kiangwi. Watu wanaweza fikiwa ni Kiangwi peke yake. Hizo sehemu zingine zote paka jeshi ziende zisaidie. Tunaomba KDF wasichoke, waende wakasaidia wale maskini. Kitu cha kusikitisha zaidi ni kwamba hata kwenye orodha ukipigia NDMA wanakuambia Lamu West tu mafuriko. Hawashughuliki, hata data hawana. Red Cross hata data hawana. Wanashughulika huku pande kwenye watu wengi. Kule kwa vile ni kidogo, ni maskini, hawana numbers, hata hakuna anayewashughulikia. Bispika, inanisikitisha kama mbunge wa kule, inanisikitisha sana. Na CDF ingeruhusiwa basi kabadilisha, maana hata county hawajaenda huko. Kiunga ward kuna matatizo, mashamba yote yameingia maji. Chakula watu hawakupata safari hii na mashamba yameingia maji. Sasa utaona county wameconcentrate, kila mtu ameenda kule kwenye kura nyingi. Na kule wale maskini hakuna anayeshughulika yoyote. Ikiwa watu wameathirika na mafuriko, watu wa Basuba hawaathiriki tu na mafuriko. Kuna mambo ya usalama siku zote, kisha sahihi inaingia na mafuriko. Kule ni matatizo zaidi. Bispika, nyumba za Basuba, nyumba zao tunazijua. Watu dhaifu maskini, nyumba zimeingia kwenye maji. Wale hata kujenga tena sijui atapata lini kujenga kama hawapati msaada. Bispika, haya mambo yametuathiri, naomba ichukuliwe hatua za haraka. Naungana na wenzangu, rais aseme ni janga la kitaifa, watu wapate msaada. Kama tunangojea county Lamu Mashariki hawajafika. Kama tunangojea NDMA pia nao hawajafika, sijui ni kwa nini. Mimi mwenyewe nimewapigia simu kuwauliza, wanaambia barabara tu imekatika, sijui nini, na hakuna kitu wamefanya. So sijui tukimbilie wapi sisi Bispika. Watu wanatutegemea na sisi hatuna msaada wa kuwapatia. Sina mfuko wote wa kwenda kutoa chakula cha msaada. Tunaomba bunge hili ngara sauti yetu isikizwe. Donors wakija wafikirie pia watu wa Basuba ward, wasiangalie tu Lamu West. Lamu West kweli imeathirika, lakini hata kama ni wengi, lakini kule pia wameathirika na wale ni wanyonge zaidi, nao wasaidiwe. Asante Bispika.
Asante Mheshimiwa Rueda. Na ni vizuri nikujulishe kwamba ndo hii idhini iweze kutolewa na spika, lazima mswada huu uwe ni wa dharura na wa kitaifa. Kwa hivyo sio mambo ya Mandera ya kusini peke yake, ni mambo ya kitaifa. Mheshimiwa wa Kisauni, Mheshimiwa Rashid Bedzimba, wakati ni wako.
Asante sana Madam Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi fursa hii na mimi nipenyeze sauti yangu katika janga hili la mafuriko. Pia mimi niko kuunga mkono kwamba mafuriko yawekwe kama janga la kitaifa. Yatangazwe kama janga la kitaifa kwa sababu limeathiri wananchi pakubwa. Na la kusikitisha ni kwamba hatukuwatayarisha wale wananchi wakajiweka tayari kwamba kuna jambo linalokuja la dharura, kwa sababu kulitangazwa kwamba kutakuja El Nino, lakini baadaye ikatangazwa tena hakuna, halafu ikatangazwa iko, mpaka wakaanza kuomba misamaha kwenye matelevisheni. Sasa wananchi walirelax, walipumzika wakijua kwamba hali ni shwari, lakini ghafla usiku mvua imeanza kunyesha ambao haikusimama kwa masiku kadhaa, ikasomba mifugo, ikasomba vyakula, watu wanavyoathirika pakubwa. Katika eneo bunge la Kisauni, Madam Speaker, eneo bunge la Kisauni limeathirika pakubwa katika janga hili la mafuriko. Katika wodi 7 ambazo zote mimi nawakilisha, zote zimekuwa na mafuriko. Vyakula ndani vimeingiliwa na maji. nguo zote zimechukuliwa, watoto wamekuwa hawajui walazwe wapi, hali imekuwa ngumu, majumba yameanguka. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa watu wanahitaji msaada mkubwa sana. Kwa sasa chakula kwa dharura, serikali wangeanza kuwapelekea chakula cha kutosha tena. Sio watu wanawekwa foleni, chakula kinaletwa wanapewa kilo 2. Kilo 2 itawasaidia nini? Wale watu wanahitaji kusaidika kwamba chakula kitende kwa wingi, kila wodi kwende vyakula ambao wale wananchi wanaishi katika wodi hizo wao watapata vya kuwasaidia kwa wiki ama zaidi ya wiki waweze kujipanga. Magodoro yote yalibebwa na maji, watu hawajui waishi wapi. Hata kule mashule hawana nafasi ya kwenda kwa sababu mashule yenyewe kuta zote zimeanguka. Kwa hivyo tunahitaji msaada mkubwa wa serikali. Wasikae tu wakaona kwamba ni vizuri kuwaita watu kusema unawapa chakula na unawapatia kilo 2. Kilo 2 ndio unampatia mtu mmoja na unasema pa family ipate kilo 2. Itawasaidia nini? Kwa kweli ni masikitiko sana, saa hizi wananchi wanahitaji serikali ingie, lakini serikali imekaa kando na kuwacheza shere. Ukiangalia kaunti kama ya Mombasa, governor anasema hajapewa hata ndururu ya El Nino. Hajapewa hata shilingi 1. Kwa hivyo sasa hatujui anayedanganya mwingine ni nani. Serikali kuu inasema kwamba imetoa, yule anasema hajapewa, ama wanamwambia tumie pesa. Pesa ziko na mipango, huwezi kwenda tu kuchukua pesa ya shughuli zingine ukaipeleka pale, alafu itamletea tabu katika hesabu wakati auditors wamekuja. Kwa hivyo sisi tunaomba serikali walichukulia jambo hili kwa umuhimu sana, walitilie maanani kwamba watu wanateseka, hasa eneo bunge la Kisauni. Tunahitaji msaada wa serikali. Tunahitaji kwamba watu wasaidike, wanahangaika, majumba maji yako paka magotini, na sisi kule ni maskini sana. Vyoo vingi vyetu tunatumia ndani ya nyumba. Kwa hivyo yale maji hata yameingia kwa choo, yamejaa, imetoka nje. Wale watu ni hatari sana, kuna mkurupuko wa maradhi pia yako njiani. Tunataka serikali ihakikishe kwamba saa hizi wamelenga hasa eneo bunge la Kisauni, wawasaidie na wapeleke madawa katika hospitali na warahisishie watu kwamba saa hizi watu watibiwe bure kwa sababu ya hali ya hatari hii ambayo imetokea, ambayo hawakupanga. Mashule sasa mengi yameanguka makuta zao, mengi mapaa zao sasa zimekuwa na athari. Tunaomba misaada ya kutosha katika wale mashirika ambao wako tayari kusaidia, waje eneo bunge la Kisauni wasaidie, na hata kule sehemu ambazo imezungumzwa sasa nimeona maji yakenda na mifugo ikichukuliwa. Wanahitaji msaada mkubwa, na hili jambo tunazungumza isiwe tu tunazungumza hapa. Serikali waitilie maanani, wananchi wanapata tabu. Hali ya uchumi ni mbaya, na sasa vyakula vinkwenda, kazi hakuna mtu anaenda, watoto ni wagonjwa. Tunaomba msaada kwa serikali, na ni haki ya wananchi, si msaada tu kwa bembeleza. Ni haki ya mwananchi asaidiwe wakati huu ambao wa dhiki imeingia. Kisauni tumeumia zaidi. Kwa haya nasema Mheshimiwa Spika, haya maneno tunazungumza, serikali wasiwache tu tuzungumze, wayatilie maanani, waone vipi watasaidia wananchi wao. Asante sana.
Thank you. Member for Thika Town.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I also rise to support this motion now that it has rained like never before. And by the way, Madam Speaker, I think it is across the country that we have felt this El Nino. What I don't understand is because we were warned. If we were never warned, it is something else. We were prepared by those who are in charge, and we knew that El Nino was on the way. Honorable Speaker, the 22% and the 10%, I think we don't wait until the damages are done. These are monies that were supposed to have been raised early enough to come and help our roads. As we speak right now, for those children who are sitting for their exams, how will they be compared with our child who lives somewhere very comfortable, who woke up very early in the morning, went and sat for her exams? Yet these ones, they even don't know whether they will make it to go and sit for their exams. We as a nation, and especially from where I stand in this National Assembly, where I represent or oversight the Ministry of Social Protection, where children rise. Madam Speaker, children are suffering. Every news, every evening, when you watch, you see those children are suffering. Those ones who are doing for their exams, also those young children who they cannot stay in the house, neither can they go outside. From a bird's view, when you look at some of the counties, they are flooded. You can think they are lakes, or you can think they are oceans, but it is dry land that now either the proper drainage was not done, but everybody everywhere is suffering. Even in my own constituency, there is a place called Geshieki. They have moved to other places because their homes, they woke up at night and water was not outside their house. Actually, they were woken by their beds becoming wet because the water had already penetrated their houses and they are suffering. What I'm saying, let us not wait until, because we don't know these rains will go until when. You know, last night it rained the entire night until the entire morning. It was still raining. And drainage, I think everywhere, they are blocked. You find even in an urban town like Thika, we are still suffering. Water is all over. The roads, you know, with these rains, and if the water stand at one place, it means even all our roads are going to be damaged. Why do we wait until this one happens? If at all we are not warned, that is something else. We were told that it was going to rain very heavily, and this nation of ours, we have come from COVID to drought, now from drought to El Nino. And we are stuck here, Madam Speaker. All what I'm saying is food to be released. Let the ministry, let Treasury now put this one as a national disaster, start releasing the food to the families that are affected, start fixing the roads, because even people coming to work, either in the morning or in the evening, is a problem. People are sleeping on the other side of their homes because they cannot even access their own homes. I want to say that let us not wait until when damage is done, until when we cannot be able to rescue this situation. We have time right now. We come out as a nation. We come and help these affected people, and there are many. And like I have said, it is across the country. Everybody is suffering. There's no shelter, there's no food, there's no medication, and get medication to the affected people or to the affected families, it is a problem. Let us, we as the nation, be doing what we are supposed to be doing. Let us not be seen like we are crying all the time. Let us be able to solve problems at the right time, not to wait until when nothing is working in the nation, not until they wait, we come here to debate, that is when they are going to start releasing money. It is wrong. We are supposed as a nation to come out very strongly and protect our families, and protect our society, and protect our children, and protect our mothers, and protect our elderly who are suffering, waiting for the government to come and rescue. And as for the 22% and the 10%, let it not come when already El Nino is gone, when you cannot be called to go and fix a road that is made.
Your time is up. Member for Mandera East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, may I take this opportunity to thank the mover of the motion who brought this critical motion to the House. The issue we are discussing here is extremely, extremely, extremely timely. Right now, as we speak, people have been moved from their houses and become IDBs in their own country. Roads are blocked. In the 21st century, right now, vehicles from Nairobi cannot reach Mandera, cannot reach Wajir, cannot reach Dadaab and Ijara. It's extremely very unfortunate. And you know, that's why we have been saying that this region is marginalized for some time. And we thought we will be out of this problem once maybe leaders like His Excellency William Samoei Arap Ruto now takes the leadership. We expected this to start immediately after a pastoralist takes over power. It's unfortunate that now our people might starve to death. Vehicles are stuck. As I speak right now, a bag of sugar today is going at 10,000 shillings in Mandera town. The few that have the stock. Most of them don't have stock. In fact, shops are closing. Those few that were coming from the other side of Ethiopia and Somalia, all of them are also suffering the same thing. There are no roads. Now, students doing examination is a problem. We are calling upon the government to call this, and declare this as a national disaster so that we can get help. Even planes cannot land in Mandera right now because of, the magnitude of the rain that is there. I think for almost 5 days, no plane landed in Mandera. The situation is dire. We don't want the government to move and bury when deaths occur. It is the high time now for the leadership of this country to move very fast, get planes that can carry tons and tons of food. Those who drop food, I think those there are planes in UN and other well-wishers that can have those kind of cargo planes that can drop food all over. Because most likely planes cannot land. It's unfortunate that we are discussing this kind of thing in the 21st century. Once the president declares this as a national disaster, donors from all over the world will move in and our people will get help. We also need the government to take people out of these, risky places where floods come during the night while they're in asleep. Take them to, a higher places and, treat them as IDBs. Once we do that, we'll be better off. In Mandera right now, Mandera is a headquarter of Mandera County. Unfortunately, for the last 5 days, there is no power at all. No one can be taken to ICU. There is no oxygen. You can understand the risk. Once that happens, Mandera General Hospital right now as we speak, there is no power. The whole town is in darkness. The problem is not the way maybe our leadership are taking. The problem is extremely very big and dire. We need our leadership to move very fast and the president to come out clearly, declare this as a national disaster before it is too late. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Member for Garissa Township.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity and also thank the mover of the motion. Madam Speaker, the situation in the region, as said by my colleagues here, is more than dire. I think we are over El Nino. What we are experiencing is something we have not experienced for a very, very long time. In our lifetime, we have not seen the situation we're in. Madam Speaker, I think we've reached a situation where we are in hurricane, those very funny names and very big disasters of hurricane and cyclones in our region. The whole region is completely submerged. So I don't know whether the government was forewarned. We knew all these things were coming, but they took it for granted. The situation we are in, we have been talking about it in press conference, this issue, a national disaster. But there seems to be some laxity or some fear, or they may be tending to think that it would be shameful to declare it as a national disaster. Whichever name they use, they must know that we have a problem and we need an urgent government interventions. County governments are not able to intervene on this kind of issue. So we need the national government to come in. It looks like the government is every morning waking up and telling us, you are not yet suffering. You are not yet there. You are not yet there. You need to suffer more so that they come in. We need the government intervention. I am speaking on the floor of the House directly to the president of the country, wherever he is. When he comes back out of the country, we need him to go and land in Wajir International Airport and establish a command center to coordinate the disasters that is there. We are no longer trusting any other government official or to tell us anything. We have met them, many government ministers, many government PSS on the same issue. They cannot move even one truck of food from here or one airlift of food from here to the affected areas. People are suffering. Homes are flooded. There is no one who is living in his house today in the whole region. I have a 30-kilometer river line along my constituency. All those farms are destroyed. All that land is destroyed. All those farms are destroyed. People are watching the destruction of their lifetime investment, but there is no government that is talking about. We have displaced people living in all the schools in the county. Students are unable to do exam because the schools are occupied by displaced people. There's nothing coming out of the government or from the national government and or the county government to help these people. We are appealing. We have said many things on the floor of the House, and in fact, it's unfortunate the leaders of this House are not taking this issue seriously. They were there before this debate came, this motion came on the floor of the House. They left us. Their only intention is always to whip us to come and support government bills and issues. But now when we have a problem in our regions, when we need them most to talk on our behalf also, they have disappeared from the House. There is nobody here. You are not a leader of this House. We are talking about the majority leader, the deputy majority leader, the whips and everything, and the other side. Those are the people we are talking about, not members like myself. So don't please intervene on this issue. You have nothing to offer us. We are talking to the leadership of the House, who we need to be here to talk on behalf of the country with the challenges this country is facing. Madam Speaker, we need a serious intervention from the national government. We have talked about this issue. We have a problem. There's nothing forthcoming. All the roads are destroyed. Animals cannot go and fend for themselves because everywhere is waterlogged. There is no pasture to go and eat. So with those many remarks, or few remarks, whatever you call, government intervention is needed here. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Kindly members, do not raise your hands. I have your names. If you have logged in, I can see you. Member for Taveta, Honorable John Bwire. Honorable Anjala, you have no local standard to even show. You've just come in. So please, there are members who have been waiting. Member for Taveta.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when I was in Sunday school, my Sunday school teacher used to remind me of the scripture in the book of Matthew 19:24. The Bible says, I'll say it again, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich person to enter the kingdom of heaven. Madam Speaker, if I had a second to amend the Bible, I will recommend to amend Matthew 19:24. And I would say, it is easier for a camel to enter through a needle, the eye of an needle, than government officers and politicians in Kenya to enter the kingdom of heaven. And why do I say so, Madam Speaker? I say so, Madam Speaker, because the many times I've been in Parliament here, we've always had discussions of how we came from very humble background to the positions where we are today. But the one thing that surprises me, Madam Speaker, is that the moment we get here, we forget about the many poor people who are languishing in the villages. Madam Speaker, I had the privilege of going to Kimorigo village in Taveta constituency. I had the privilege of going to Njukini, Saramson, Irrigation, Marodo, Nga. Those people are really suffering, Madam Speaker. And I want you to take a moment, Madam Speaker, and close your eyes. Imagine your children, 2 children, 3 children, in your house, where your house is completely flooded, you only have mkeka and you cannot sleep, and you are a mother of those children. It is painful, it is heartening, and I think I want to agree with the speaker who had just spoken before me, that I think sometimes we are forgotten the moment we get to these positions. Why do I say so, Madam Speaker? When we were passing the finance bill and increasing the VAT from 8% to 16%, we were assured we'll have a lot of dams everywhere in the country. When we were passing the housing levy, we were assured of houses, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, when we were increasing NHIF and NSSF and other things, Madam Speaker, even the cost of an ID, we were told that things are going to change. Madam Speaker, when the travels for members of parliament and other government officials were cancelled, we were told we were doing it for the best of the country. In fact, I was in one of the meetings where we were told, as a result of the cancellation of the travels, we have saved close to 5 billion. What we are asking, Madam Speaker, where is this money? Where is this money, Madam Speaker? And we are not asking for so many things, Madam Speaker. What we are saying is repair the roads so that they can be motorable. For instance, Madam Speaker, in my constituency, the Taveta-Elasity Road has been the connection between farmers, so that they can take their produce to the market. Madam Speaker, we have women who have sacrificed all their savings to cultivate tomato. They cannot take that tomato to the market because the roads are not passable, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have bigger problems. I remember, Madam Speaker, this house is a house of record. On 26th of July, 2023, the Cabinet Secretary, Water, Honorable Alice Wahome, was here, and I asked her a question. I told her, Honorable Alice Wahome, Kimorigo has the problem of having perennial floods. What are you doing? And she told us so many good things. But people in Kimorigo right now are suffering. People in Ga right now are suffering. What we are saying, Madam Speaker, much as my colleagues are saying we declare floods as a national disaster, El Nino as a national disaster, I would also request, Madam Speaker, we saw a committee led by the Deputy President on this emergency. We have a Cabinet Secretary for Water. We want them to come here next week to explain to us the immediate intervention measures that they have taken to protect our people. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Well said, Honorable Ivo Bara. Give Honorable Eve the mic.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this very, very important motion. And I want to thank our colleague from Mandera for bringing it up. Madam Speaker, this matter should have been addressed as early as yesterday because of the effects of the El Nino. Yes, I know we've been told that we were warned, and again we were told that it was not going to be there, but that is water under the bridge. And as a house, we should move on and see how best this matter can be solved. Madam Speaker, we have seen families displaced, desperate families displaced from their homes. We have seen crops destroyed. We have seen sick children, old people living in very, very unfriendly environment because of the storm or the El Nino. Madam Speaker, as much as it was brought in by this member from Mandera, the El Nino has affected almost all parts of this country. Madam Speaker, I was in Mombasa last week for a conference for 4 days. In Mombasa, it rained for 4 days non-stop, day and night. And the area was completely flooded with water, Bamburi area. Mombasa, to the extent that we did not see the sun for 4 full days. Madam Speaker, we have seen floods in areas that we never expected. We have seen what is happening in Dubai, for instance. It's flooded, and homes and houses have been destroyed from El Nino. Yes, it is El Nino, and it is serious. Madam Speaker, what is our plan? What is our disaster preparedness? What are we doing as a country? Because I can imagine that it can only be worse from what we are seeing and from the projections, even as we look at it from all over the world on what they are saying is going to happen. What is our level of preparedness as a country? What are we doing for those people who are already affected and out of their homes, schools that have been destroyed? What are we doing? Relief food. I saw them on TV yesterday. Even in my own county, Homa Bay, Oluch Kimira area. I saw them in Ahero in Kisumu County. They are also living in schools and they have no food, they have no medicine, they have no water, they have nothing. We are yet to see the arm of government reaching out. The relief food must get to these people. And we must stand as one, as a country, and speak with one voice so that our people are taken care of, so that our people are able to get food, medicine, and water, nets for mosquitoes. Madam Speaker, this should happen. Not 2 weeks' time, not 3 weeks' time, but tomorrow. I believe that there is food in stock through the ministry, and this food, we must see it starting going out. I don't know what has happened to the Red Cross. They were very, very fast in these matters. But somehow, we have not seen action from them. Madam Speaker, our condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones as a result of these floods, to those families that cannot bury their dead because of the floods. Once again, I support and thank you very much, our colleague, for bringing it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Rabai. Check the next one.
Asante sana Madam Speaker. Mimi nikiwa mbunge wa Rabai nimesimama kuunga mkono hoja hii ambayo imeweza kuletwa na mheshimiwa kutoka pale Mandera. Nataka nimpongeze kwa sababu ameleta hoja ambayo kwa wakati huu, wakati mwafaka. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme kwamba hii mvua ya El Nino, kipindi hichi wakazi wote, niseme wakazi wa Pwani, wakazi wa Kenya, wamehangaishwa sana na mvua hii, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ndio maana nasimama hapa nikiwa mbunge wa Rabai kuunga mkono na kusema kwamba mvua hii ya El Nino serikali itangaze rasmi kuwa ni janga la kitaifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikiwa mbunge wa Rabai, wakazi wengi wa Rabai nyumba zao zimeweza kuanguka kwa sababu ya mvua nyingi. Mvua imenyesha zaidi ya siku 4 mfululizo. Na niseme kwamba hata kile chakula ambacho juzi waliweza kuvuna mashambani kiliweza kutekwa chote na mvua na maji, na hivi navyosema wakazi wa Rabai hawana chakula. Ndio maana nataka kuuliza serikali ije na mbinu ambayo itaweza kuhakikisha wale wote ambao wameweza kuathirika waweze kupewa ufadhili wa kutosha ili kipindi hichi waweze kusaidika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niseme kwamba nikiwa mbunge wa Rabai, eneo bunge la Rabai kuna wodi 4. Tuko na Mwawesa, Ruruma, Kamberibe na Kisurutini. Na barabara zile zote ambazo hivi juzi tuliweza kuzirekebisha kupitia KERA, barabara zote zimeoshwa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na mimi niseme kwamba kuna madaraja, Mheshimiwa Spika, daraja la Jimba, daraja la Chitwa cha Mkamba, daraja la Ngwenzeni, zote zimeweza kufagiliwa na mvua hii ya El Nino, kiasi cha kwamba wananchi sahihi kutoka Rabai wanapata shida kubwa. Hawawezi kuweza kutembea yale maeneo mengine kwa sababu daraja hizi zote zimeweza kusafishwa na mvua El Nino. Mheshimiwa Spika, niseme kwamba kupitia Rabai tuko na mto pale mkubwa unaitwa River Kombeni, na mto huu, Mheshimiwa Spika, una maji mengi sana ambayo maji haya kufikia wakati huu yanaenda bahari India. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, nikisimama hapa mimi nikiwa mbunge wa Rabai, nataka niseme kwamba kwa zaidi ya miaka 10 eneo bunge la Rabai limekuwa na shida ya maji, na ndio maana ninauliza serikali ije na mikakati sehemu kama hizi ambazo maji mengi yanapatikana mfumo huu yanaenda baharini. Nimeuliza serikali na ninanyenyekea, mto wa River Kombeni, serikali ije na mikakati ya kuweza kujenga damu ili maji yale ambayo yanaenda River Kombeni yaweze kutumika kwa wakazi wa Rabai ili shida ya maji iweze kuisha. Nikimalizia, Mheshimiwa Spika, nimshukuru pia naibu wa rais, aliweza kuita viongozi wote na kuzungumzia swala hili la janga la mafuriko, na hivi nataka niseme kwamba nina imani kwamba serikali itatoa mwongozo ili Wakenya wote ambao wameweza kupata shida hii ya mvua El Nino wakaweze kupata suluhu. Asante sana Madam Speaker, nasimama kuunga mkono. Asante.
Asante sana. Nafasi hii muendee mbunge wa Lungalunga, Mheshimiwa Mangale Chiforomodo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. Actually, as Kenyans, we are in a crisis, and I want to concur with my colleagues that El Nino should be declared as a national disaster because it has caused havoc. As we speak, there are so many people who are in camps. Like, for example, in my constituency, 700 people have camped at a school called Kidomaya. Another 200 people have been camping at another school called Mwamose, and many other places. Generally, what you are saying, the loss which we Kenyans or which Kenyans have experienced due to El Nino is enormous. And I want to thank my friend here that he has come up with this motion so that we all reflect, discuss, and also advise the government on the way forward. Madam Speaker, the road network in Lungalunga constituency is in tatters. We cannot access the headquarters in Lungalunga because all the bridges have been brought down. There's one thing which I want to mention here, that also these rains have also actually tried to show us that some of our contractors are doing shoddy jobs. I want to mention one road from Vitsangalaweni all through Mwena and Maledi. The road has been finished 2 months ago. It was marked. Now, it has got 2 places which are